Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 307th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I am your host, Steve Wellings. Joining me on the call this evening, we have Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, and Dave the Hater Lowback. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be going over the boxing from the weekend, looking ahead to next weekend's action as well, where we have Sergey Kovalev rematching against Alvarez. Bit of matchroom action. We always love a bit of that. Ted Cheeseman going in for the European title. Let's start off this weekend. Before we go on to Munguia in UA, I think we'll start off, Andy, in the Barclays Centre, Brooklyn, New York. Keith Thurman returning after a couple of years out, as we discussed last week. He's still the WBA Super World Welterweight title, as if the WBA were ever going to take a title off anybody when there's a few quid to be made. He improves now to 29-0, Thurman, with his win over Josecito Lopez. Scores of 113 apiece, 117, 109, and 115, 111. I thought that was probably about right, to be honest. Now, last week, Andy, I was a little bit harsh on Lopez, but he was the perfect comeback opponent, and he did well. He pushed Thurman pretty well, and halfway through the fight, I thought, I've been a bit tough on this guy. He's not a bad fighter, and he's just what you need coming back. So fair play to the matchmakers, and fair play to Thurman.
Yep, I was slightly critical as well about Lopez last week. In the end, he did serve up good copy for Thurman, probably just exactly what he needed, just to kind of test him physically, mentally as well, and probably just mainly mentally, because obviously he's been to the ring for 2 years. Interesting comments, obviously, but I was really into. I don't know what broadcast you listened to, but I actually listened to the Fox one. So Joe Goosen and Lennox Lewis and that were on it.
Yep.
Goosen was really good, actually. I really like listening to him. And
I thought they all worked pretty well, Andy, to be honest.
They did, and I kind of felt that he probably said it right. I think it was Goosen that actually maybe mentioned that Thurman probably still had to get used to being hit again. With 8-ounce gloves on, so to speak. You can do it all in the gym and stuff, but it's obviously you're wearing 15, 16-ounce gloves anyway in the headgear. But no, it was good for Thurman actually. Obviously, good left hook for the knockdown. What was it, round 3? I think it was.
Round 2.
Round 2, sorry, and then obviously he had to dig deep in the round 7. Really had to kind of see what he wanted to do. I kind of really felt that he was definitely hurt, but I don't know why he ran about the ring. I just don't know why he just tried to kind of grab hold of him early and what he did.
That's his style, though.
Yeah, I suppose, but he was badly hurt though, and if Lopez just managed to kind of catch him clean, that could have been it. But no, fair play to him. He definitely dug deep. Fair play to Lopez, as I say, his onslaught in the 7th was very good. But fair play to Thurman for coming back on it. I thought the scorecards were slightly wide, like 117, 109 was kind of like way wide. 113, 113, I don't know what you guys think about that one, but I think you're right, Steve. 115, 111 was probably kind of definitely fair enough result. But I don't know about Thurman's next move, actually. Obviously, I don't know, maybe Garcia's talking about a match and stuff like that. Thurman's saying he's not back at his best yet, but obviously he's not going to be back at his best. He's been out for 2 years, surgery type things and that as well. Obviously he's been questioned a bit if he still wants to be in the sport and stuff like that. So, be interesting to see what his next move is. I just hope, obviously it's been a kind of a problem with some of the PBC fighters' inactivity, and hopefully Thurman comes through this with no, any flare-ups with old injury and stuff like that. So hopefully he's injury-free and he's back active pretty soon.
It was the story of the left hook, I thought, Dave. We had Thurman dropping Lopez in the 2nd round, and then Lopez in turn hurt Thurman in the 7th. Andy discussed it there, Dave. Was he in danger of being stopped? Was it enough to give Lopez a 10-8 round? Where do you stand on Thurman being hurt? How hurt was he, Dave?
I would say
a few times.
He's been in worse trouble, I think. I think he was in worse trouble against Luis Colazzo when he was hurt to the body and was really running around the ring. It was not easy. He was stunned. He was wobbled. I think this might be the first time I've seen him get hurt bad to the chin. Soto Carras caught him clean that one overhand, and he was a little shook up, but this was probably the worst I've seen him hurt to the head. And it was surprising to me. Last week I thought this is a guy, Josecito, going in there who got murdered by Berto, pretty close to shot Berto last time out. So I didn't see much hope for him going in there. And the fight started off about how I expected it to, with Thurman dominating, landing powerful shots and hurting him. But then Lopez just forced his way into the fight. He had Robert Garcia in his corner, so that probably helped him. And Thurman, I guess maybe he wasn't necessarily prepared for the full distance. I noticed even in most of his fights like that are against reasonable opposition, Thurman does sort of get tired as it goes on, and his movement is less effective. Like early on in a fight, he's very good defensively. He rarely gets touched at all. He moves his head well. He moves well. Now he moves the whole fight, but his movement is less effective as the fight wears on. So I assume that he started to slow down, and that's when Josecito Lopez started to catch him. And even despite being caught, it was a good fight all the way through. Really, it was some pretty good heavy exchanges. Both guys stood in there and wanted to trade. As far as the quality of the win, though, it's not great. I thought it was a reasonably comfortable win on this as far as scorecards go for Thurman, but it was not comfortable as far as what he had to endure to earn that win. He had really had to gut it out and was hurt a couple times along the way. So I don't really see how I can really say this is a great win because of where Lopez, where he's been as far as recent form. It's not been great.
But in the context, Dave, of Thurman coming back after 2 years?
I mean, I don't know how much I buy into ring rust, really. Maybe he would look much better. You see, I would have thought that he would have shaken the rust off early in the early rounds, but because like in the early rounds he looked great. He looked like his old self, and it was in the later rounds where he looked like shit. Or more in the middle rounds. He did win some of the late rounds, I think. But you know, I would have thought that he would look worse early and gotten into his groove as the fight went on, not the other way around.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. He reminds me a little bit of Danny Jacobs. He shows all the moves for the first 5 or 6 rounds, and then he maybe tires. If you can stick in with him, you can get to him. I think it was maybe the Diego Chavez fight where I've seen him doing this before, getting copped with a body shot or something, and he was doing that running around the ring. Some people hold on, other people run. He wanted to look like he was in control of the fight. I thought, like, I don't need to hold on. I'm not hurt here. I can dance around the ring, head in the air, giving off the air of confidence to the judges and to the referee, obviously, whose decision it is if he was going to stop the fight. And Thurman was trying to just show a bit of bravado, I think, really. But he was hurt, I thought, Andy.
He was definitely hurt, but also at times during the fight and stuff, when he was just like moving around about the ring and that, he was popping off like single shots. It wasn't like shots like, you know, sitting down on it. It was just simply kind of like a nuisance shot to kind of try and maybe like preoccupy Lopez, or maybe just kind of like try and keep him at bay, maybe annoy him or whatever. And that, you know, there was times in that fight that, you know, when he was moving and that, it was just like moving for the sake of it. But, you know, as Dave says, you know, that is how he fights. But I just think, you know, in the end, stamina-wise, it's going to end up calling him. Coming forward, I mean, I really don't know, you know, how it is with the title situation. Obviously, been out the ring for 2 years. Obviously, they'll take that into consideration. But I noticed this morning that one of the top ranked fighters is that was in their best Putin. I think he's with top rank. He might get called for the mandatory defence against him shortly as well. So, you know, he's talking about Pacquiao. I mean, obviously, everybody's wanting to fight Pacquiao now and stuff. And then maybe Jesse Vargas as well. And then you've got the other fighter, another top-ranked fighter, is Kovalev. So, are these fights going to be able to get made? This is the thing, especially the ESPN fighters. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in, like, say, Pacquiao, Garcia, or maybe even Porter.
Just before we bring Gabe in, Andy, I didn't hear any of the post-fight interviews. Did Thurman call anybody out? Was he vocal?
I've not checked anything really kind of in depth, but I think he had mentioned Pacquiao. I've not got any quotes on that at the minute. I need to go and dig them out. But
it's the money fight, isn't it? It's the big money.
It is. I mean, obviously Pacquiao's come across there for a reason and stuff like that. He's got tax issues, I believe, to try and get sorted out. Maybe Heyman's helping them with and then obviously with the promise probably as well is try and fight some of these guys and that as well. So it made good money. I mean, Pacquiao was meant to have made 20 million for his last fight, so you know, it's still good money, isn't it? I mean, Christ, can't be sneezed at that type of money. So I don't know what Brunner made was something like 5 million or something like that, maybe closer to 10. So obviously Thurman's wanting that money as well after being in it for 2 years.
Exactly, yeah, we mentioned it there. I was pleased with the PBC commentary team. Lennox Lewis has had his detractors in the past. I thought he was coherent. He spoke well. He added just what he needed to add, and Joe Goosen picked up the slack. And between them, I thought they were superb. The main commentator as well, Chris somebody, was very good as well. So no complaints from me, to be honest. Gabe, let's get your opinion, shall we? Keith Thurman, where do you think he's going to go next? Andy was talking about a few options, possible rematch with Sean Porter. Would you want to see that? Would you want to see him rematching with Danny Garcia? That seems like it's been, it's already been done, hasn't it? Terence Crawford. It's
Spaniard.
Across the divide. Yeah, Leharaga, someone like that, possibly. Maybe put him in against Jesse Vargas or somebody like that, Gabe, just to continue to shake off the rust. Or do you want to throw Thurman straight in?
I don't think he will. I think he's going to get probably another similar fight like this one before he goes on to something bigger towards the end of the year. So I expect him to come back around May or June, depending on what cards get lined up, so on and so forth. And then probably sometime in the later part of the year towards November, late October to early December, I would see in that time frame. Again, depending on what cards come out, and unless he goes on the injury wagon again. I think he needs to fight Spence. This is the fight that people want. This is a fight of two guys who are top-notch, highly ranked in the division, the champions. The fight needs to be made. He doesn't need to fight Pacquiao. Manny's old. Beating him does nothing for you except give you a hide on your resume that people will look back 15, 20 years from now and say, oh, well, he beat Manny. And then you'll have old codgers like us sitting here saying, yeah, but Manny was old whenever he beat him, and point to that kind of thing. I don't see the point in that fight. So my opinion is, let's get him up. Let him have his one more tune-up fight, because God knows he's going to get it anyway. And then let's have him at Spence at the end of the year. That's it. End of story. Spence gets 2 fights this year. Thurman gets 3 since he's coming back from the inactivity. There's no reason not to make that fight happen. I'm sure that it'll happen next year. I think that's the reality. What I want to see happen is completely different. I want to see it by the end of the year. I think Josecito Lopez, like you guys have already said, was a great opponent for him at this point. Lopez has a way of bringing out the best in guys a lot of times, and he is a guy that we'll look back on years and years from now and say he had a lot of good fights, or maybe not a lot, but he had some really good fights, and he got put in with some big name opponents and did some good things, and he's always made a good account of himself, and he's never afraid to step up to the challenge. So I thought the fight was okay as a comeback fight. I don't know who he'll fight next. Somebody old, I'm sure. But if he fights Pacquiao, then Pacquiao's going to take him to school. I have a feeling that Errol Spence is going to beat the shit out of him when he gets his hands on him. So that's really what I want to see next. I was really hoping that Lopez would finish off the job in the 7th round, because he was pretty wobbly a few times. Right there, he was getting hit, and his head was just flying backwards like a little rag doll. So for me, I really, really want to see him get bashed by Spence. But that's not going to happen. So all actuality, it'll probably be another little bit older, seasoned kind of fighter that he fights. It won't be a big name guy like Porter or Danny Garcia. That'll be towards the end of the year.
And if we're looking for possible future Thurman opponents, you've alerted us to number 9 in the WBA rankings. Thurman better watch out, because of the young, hungry lion on his tail.
Oh, man, alive. I'm still in shock. Fucking Conor Benn, ranked 9th. And we just throw the one in as well. Number 10, Josh Yellow Kelly, ranked 10th there. I'll be Christ. Josh Kelly's ducking. What was his name again? Avanesian.
Avanesian, yeah.
Yeah, and he's ranked 10th for the WBA. Oh, baby. As I say, Stevie, it's just that Hare and Mendoza cushy relationship there, isn't it? It's just, it's looking good, isn't it? It really is. I'm looking forward to these fights happening somewhere in the future.
Who knows? You never know. If Conor keeps winning, he could find himself in with Keith Thurman. Andy, talking to someone who's kept on winning, we were given the big one last week, 12 Tugsot Nyambayar, the featherweight on the undercard, against Claudio Marrero. No mug, this Marrero. We said that as well. Vacant IBO featherweight title was on the line. But more importantly, I think there was a WBC ranking, which now pushes Tug, as they were calling him on the commentary team, wise move, into a shot at possibly Gary Russell Jr., something like that. 114, 113, 115, 112, 116, 111. Yeah, Moreira, I thought that he had the potential to give Tug a few problems with that long southpaw lead. He was pretty tall. It wasn't until the middle rounds that he really got into the fight, and I thought that the fight was possibly there for the taking for Moreira. Should we put the brakes on Tug a little bit? Good learning experience. Where'd you sit on this one?
Yeah, it was a good learning experience. I mean, let his hands go, good angles and stuff. I was very impressed with him. I just think maybe up at that higher level, maybe the power's just no such. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Obviously, his record suggests he has got a bit of power. But it was a good chance to get another good look at Moreno as well. Very, very rangy, tricky southpaw, and he was catching Tug. It feels weird saying that actually, or the amber bar, with right hooks and that as well. So, but I just felt that probably slight more quality work was definitely coming by Tug in that as well. Especially like when he's standing in the pocket, he was letting his hands go up through the middle and that as well, especially with uppercuts and stuff. So it was a good learning fight. Obviously, definitely not ready for like maybe a world title at the minute, but yeah, again, good fight to be in. I forget what the scorecards was one of them saying like it was kind of like 113, is that right?
No, there was one by a point to Tug. Let me just bring him up here. One by a point, that was Julie Lederman's. Then there was one by 3 points and one by 4 points, all in Tug's favour. Yeah,
also as well, you've got to take into consideration probably there's a couple of point deductions as well.
Yeah, Moreira had a point deducted, didn't he? For what was he up to? Hitting behind the head or something like that?
I think he'd been warned for punches like rabbit punches and kidney punches and that as well. But no,
hitting off the break, off the break.
But yeah, definitely good learning fight. He's talking like he's wanting, he feels ready for the big fights and that as well now. So. Obviously, again, if you're coming through a tough fighter like that, tall, rangy southpaw, as I say, and stuff like that, he's probably ready for maybe a kind of step up, I suppose. Forget what ranking body that was. You say with WBC, Steve?
Well, yeah, I've got it in front of me here, Andy. He's actually ranked, according to Fight News, number 7 in the WBC. So I'm thinking, well, maybe he's not as close to a shot as I thought. But if you look at some of the guys ahead of him, Moreira was number 3, so he's obviously just beaten him. You've got Kid Galahad, who's going the IBF route. Count out Quigg, Martinez. You've got Jojo Diaz, who's second, and Mark Magsayo, who seems to never fight, but is number 1 ranked by the WBC. So you can imagine if Tug has beaten Moreira, who's number 3, he would then move up, and you could see him possibly fighting an eliminator against Diaz or Magsayo, and he could be in line for a shot at Russell Jr. sooner than you think. The only problem is Russell Jr. only bloody fights once a year, though, doesn't he?
Well, I think he's been making rumours or talking now about making his fight or his comeback soon anyway, but just be talking the way you're mentioning names, Steve, so it sounds like Tug's going to have a free march to the title shot. You're talking about there maybe being a final eliminator last night. So I think you mentioned Diaz as well. I think he's fighting in a couple of weeks' time as well, so that would maybe take him out the frame for potentially fighting Russell anytime soon as well.
Possibly Magsayo against Nyambiar could be like maybe made as a final eliminator.
Well, I've just pulled up that fight last night on BoxRec. They're saying it's a final eliminator. That was last night.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
hey, I have a question real quick. Have you ever said why Gary Russell only fights once a year? I was watching a fight back a while ago, and they said something that led me to believe he has some kind of, maybe like an intestinal issue. Like
got Crohn's disease, hasn't he?
Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered about that. I don't think they went so far as to say it, but they led into something like that, and then just kind of cut off.
Gabe, whenever he fought against Diaz, I think it was, they mentioned in between rounds that his team apparently wanted him to fight more. His corner team wanted him to fight more, but he said, no, I'm preserving my body. I'm not going to destroy myself here. And it's a conscious decision. He only wants to fight once a year.
Well, I wonder if it's because of the disease. Because
it will be, mate. Because it says I don't know how bad it is, but my mother-in-law's got it, and it can be quite crippling. Like, to be honest, no, it's no joke. Like.
That's what you wouldn't fancy Gabe taking too many body shots, would you? I mean, in all seriousness, like.
No, I don't think so. I think again, my knowledge of it's pretty small. It's kind of like a severely inflamed intestine is what I understand it to be. So, I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy. I don't believe I've ever caught that part of it, and I just wanted to ask that question. But yeah, I wouldn't want to. Shit, I mean, if my guts are bad already, taking a body shot. A good solid one will probably not feel too well.
Yeah, what a lot of people don't know actually that Gabe always takes his part in this show from the toilet. He's always sitting on the toilet. That's what the echo is in the background. Yeah. So just a bit of information for you there.
I just mute it before I flush.
Sorry, Andy. Have you got anything else to add?
What? But no, not to add, mate. No.
No problem, Dave. Any word from you? I don't know if you saw Nyambiar at all. Any future projections? How he might get on against Russell Jr.?
I think he would lose to Russell Jr. That said, I didn't know that Russell Jr. had Crohn's. I thought it was brittle hands that kept him out, and he was just trying to like make sure he could like make the absolute maximum amount of money before his hands kind of just like totally gave out on him. But if that's true about the Crohn's, I mean, I know that's I don't know the details, but I know too that's a very serious ailment. So props to him. This is a guy who was competitive. I mean, he clearly lost, but was competitive at times with Lomachenko. I mean, props to Gary Russell Jr. I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, I think he might have hand issues as well, to be honest with you. Andy, tell me about the heavyweights then. Big Kovalev, 18-0, going in against Gerald Washington. We know pretty much what Washington's all about, although he did give Deontay Wilder a few issues at times. Kovalev got rid of him pretty quickly. Imagine if Kovalev and Andy Ruiz teamed up. Those ditties would be powerful enough to feed a crash.
Yep. Well, I suppose they get sponsored for Man Bras, I suppose, in that as well. I mean, a couple of quid in sponsorship money, I suppose. But there was no messing about last night, wasn't it? He just went right down to business, and I've got to say, actually, his post-fight interview and that, he had an announcement to make, and by fuck, he was going to say it. It was brilliant. He just gets a microphone, tells everybody basically, shut the fuck up. I'm going to be a daddy, and the way he said it to him was like, he said it like in a kind of joyful, playful, kind of young, like boyish. I'm going to be a daddy, and that was it, and just walked away. I was like, fair fucking play to you, pal. Eh? Just say what you got to say, but you're going to tell him I'm going to fucking say this. Shut your fucking mouth. It was good. Good ending, I suppose. Washington, I've said it before, and that but he was a football player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Probably says a wee bit as well as people used it as an excuse last night to shit on Wilder that he went 5 rounds rather than Kawaki went 2. Good opportunity for the big lad and that as well as I don't know what he's weighing and that, but he needs to try and get the physique sorted out a little bit, I think, in my opinion. But probably kind of work on the head movement a wee bit as well, because I think once he kind of starts to step up and stuff, he's going to end up getting tagged kind of pretty badly.
Does have a few skills though, doesn't he?
Aye,
he's not terrible.
Puts the hooks over the top and stuff. Does it pretty well. Decent power as well, I must admit. I think if he hits any decent heavyweight and stuff like that, will cause him problems. I like to see. I don't know what's happening. What's happening with Big Brazil, by the way? Is he retired or what? What the fuck's going on here?
He was supposed to get the Wilder shot, wasn't he? And he was hanging around for that. They had the beef all set up, and he just seemed to have disappeared off a cliff here. He's ranked number 4 by the WBC, so he's obviously fallen down in the pecking order, probably due to inactivity. He's not highly ranked with any of the other sanctioning bodies.
But
I don't know.
That would be the fight to make them.
He fought like a month ago, didn't he, or less?
Did he?
Did he?
Yeah, he labored, but he got a knockout. It wasn't anything special. I think it was on the. Oh, I don't remember what card it was on, but yeah, it was only like a couple weeks ago he fought.
That tells you that it must have been. Was it like one of those fights off the reservation, like?
It was on an undercard.
No, he hasn't. Oh yeah, he's quite right, Andy. He fought on the it was the Charlo undercard against Carlos Negron. That's right. He knocked out him on the 22nd December. Yeah,
it was a nice knock. I mean, it was a brutal punch, but it was like really sloppily delivered, and it was kind of like a forearm knockout. It was kind of ugly, but I mean, the guy's got power. The guy's got a chin. He can be entertaining, but he's not good.
Well,
Dave, it was his first fight in over a year, so he hadn't fought since November 2017. Before that, against that Eric Molina.
You're always trying to give him excuses for inactivity, Steve.
Aye, but that would be the fight to make, I suppose. It's in-house fight as well, PBC fight.
I would imagine so. One thing I do like about Kovalev, though, Andy, is he's a fat mess. We all know that. But at least he's not a fat mess who's labouring to a 12-round decision. He's coming out there, his big belly's jiggling. At least he's throwing the big shots and trying to get rid of people.
That's what you want. Well, that's exactly what you want for heavyweights. People sign up to watch heavyweights, knock people the fuck out. I didn't know if anybody actually watched the Charles Martin fight, though. Did anybody see that shit?
Yeah, it was a good fight. I saw it was an entertaining scrap. Yeah, it was.
I need to go back and watch it. I don't think I even watched that fight. What card was that one?
Can't remember, Andy. There was 3 decent fights. I
remember the Spalka knockout being a bit. Was that not a wee bit of a shock in that as well? Just the way he dealt with that fight.
Yeah, he can definitely punch. He's got 15 knockouts in 19 wins now. Charles Martin, he won a unanimous decision. I think he started quite strong against Martin. Then Martin, I thought he was going to fold, but he came back and threw a lot of shots. And Kovalev started to tire, and Martin showed a bit of balls, actually, which he didn't in the Joshua fight. Anyway, it was the Danny Garcia, Sean Porter undercard that was on.
Feels like a while ago, and I'll need to go and try and dig that one up.
September. Yeah, I wouldn't go at your way, Andy, but at the time it was worth a watch. Yeah.
Oh, fuck it.
Okay, let's bring in Gabe, shall we? Gabe, Washington, he was mentally broken. I think that's the problem with him, isn't it? He came out in the second round with a little bit of ambition. He was throwing some underwater combinations. He sent a carrier pigeon ahead to let Kovalev know that they were coming. His shots weren't the fastest. He tried to have a go, Washington, but he just looked like Seth Mitchell, didn't he? He looked slow. He looked pondersome. He's someone who's just trying to earn a few paydays and get out of the sport. I wasn't impressed with him at all. What do you think, Gabe? Gerald Washington, TBE?
Not quiet. What was your? I'm sorry, I missed your question, bud.
I was saying he came out and had to go in the second round, but his punches were slow and he didn't really offer anything at all.
No, I would say that's pretty accurate. I think when you get that guy into a fight, it can always be somewhat entertaining just for sheer entertainment's sake, but it's never going to be real high level shit. So, what was the question? Just about how he looked? I
don't even know if there was a question. I just said, just break down the Washington performance. He broke down pretty quickly. Can you break down his showing?
I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention to it. Just like
what did he do well, Gabe? Tell me something he did well.
Who, Washington? He got knocked the fuck. The best thing he did well was basically get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to say on that? He looked good at making his entrance.
Mate, the point is that is he even ranked? George Washington, you got the rankings up there, Steve. Is he even ranked?
I don't know, Andy, to be honest with you, but I noticed his nickname on his shorts was El Gallo Negro, which means the black rooster, apparently, or the black cock, according to some translations.
That's perfect.
BB, well, obviously the question is next. Is it BBD?
I don't know. I'm trying to find a ranking. I'm desperately trying to find a ranking for him. We can rank him at something, maybe. No, he's not ranked, unfortunately, Andy, in any of the sanctioning bodies that I can see. But maybe after that performance last night, we could get him a ranking. Hey, if Freza Kendo's ranked, why shouldn't Gerald Washington be ranked? That's the question.
Freza Kendo's in there by a legal court order, for fuck's sake.
He's clinging on for dear life, isn't he? Like 6 years, that legality is.
When you put that question to Tom Sanders, by the way, that was savage as fuck. Basically says, why should we care? Why should we even give a fuck about Freza Kendo, who's like been ranked in the top 3 of WBA for 3 fucking years because of a court order? Let's just get it straight.
Cheated, not defeated, man. Manuel Charles ducking him. It's playing for everyone to see.
That's a Celtic way, mate.
I'm saying nothing. Right, Dave, let's bring you in, shall we? I've got a question for you, Dave. Forget about Kovalev for a second. Gerald Washington against Freza Kendo. Who wins? Dave?
I mean, that's a guy even Gerald Washington ought to be able to beat at this stage. Didn't Kendo last fought in 2014?
I've lost track.
I'm sure it was Chagayev that he fought.
Yeah, Chagayev, I think.
And then something happened again. They don't fail a drugs test or something like that. They had to go to court or some shit.
Yeah, he fought Chagayev in 2014 for the vacant WBA title. Chagayev tested positive, and Freza's been sitting on the shelf ever since for 4.5 years.
That's right, because Chagayev won the fight, that's right, and then he failed the drugs test, that's right.
That's what we like to see.
There you go.
Gerald Washington ought to be able to beat his ass.
What about Kovalev then, Dave? Are you with us? Bit of a fatty, but he can fight. He's not the worst heavyweight in the world, is he?
No, he's not. He's all right. And I think he's got he seems a bit simple. He's got like maybe that sort of retard strength to him. Like, he kind of just pulls in there and like throws. I mean, I think it reminds me a little bit of like a heavyweight Brandon Rios. Like he does some like clever things, but it's not because he's really thinking about it. It's because he's like been in there so long. He just knows what he's doing, and he knows like these little tricks on the inside and stuff. He just knows what to do. I don't think yet he does much game planning. But this is just casual armchair fan judging his performance. I don't know what goes on in his camp. I think he's like a bit slow mentally and less slow physically, actually. So good for him. I think he would beat Dominic Breazeale. He may as well make that fight. I do not want to see Wilder Breazeale. That's stupid. And I hated when they were trying to hype that up last month.
You can definitely see the comparisons with Andy Ruiz, can't you, Dave? Obviously, he's a little baldy white guy. He can move the hands a little bit, but Ruiz probably isn't as active as Kovnacki. He doesn't come forward as much, and maybe if he inserted a bit of energy like Kovnacki showed into his game, Ruiz could have done things in the sport.
By the way, just before you answer that, Dave, how white was he last night, by the way, under the
Yeah,
lights?
it was like translucent, wasn't it? It was really weird.
Oh, my word.
He's reflective.
I've never seen a white guy like that. He was fighting the fucking milk, man. Jesus Christ.
He's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, Dave.
That's a good descriptor. That should be his official nickname.
The Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, Mr. Stay Puft. Yeah.
What's his name?
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Do you remember from Ghostbusters with the big sailor's uniform on?
Stay Puft. I need to Google that one, actually. I've seen that for years.
I think it's spelled like Stay P-U-F-T. You know, it's like one of those ghetto puffed.
Thanks, Dave.
Anyway, Dave, sorry, I've took you down a path of madness here. Anything to add?
No. You asked me about Freza Kendo against Gerald Washington, so I'm not sure how relevant this discussion is anymore. Maybe we should just move on. I
know, you're right, Dave. Let's move on, shall we? Listen to the 307th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Andy's here with us. He's looking up the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Gabe is as well. So hey to Dave Lowback. We're expecting Rob Kelly.
That's the best description ever, but I just poked it up there. Fucking brilliant. Now I remember who it is.
Oh, good old Stay Puft. Ozzy as well. I was saying we're expecting him on the call. He's jumped on right now. Just before we get Ozzy in, we're looking forward to next Thursday evening. Roy Jones Jr. Promotions. Roy is stepping into the world of boxing promotions alongside Miguel Cotto to run a show in Alpine, California. So look out for them, Miguel Cotto and Roy Jones Jr. Ozzy, we've spoken about Thurman Lopez. We're just talking about Adam Kovnacki, a.k.a. the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, going in against Gerald Washington. Also a little bit of Tugsat Noyombiar, who defeated Claudio Marrero. Anything from that card that took your fancy, Ozzy, over in the Barclays Centre, New York?
Not particularly. I thought it's quite interesting to watch Kovnacki. I mean, aesthetically, he looks a bit of a slob, to be honest, but he's quite entertaining. I'm not sure if he'll get, he'll be a top-level fighter in terms of causing problems to Wilder, Joshua, Fury, etc., things like that. But I think a fight between him and, like, say, Dominic Breazeale, even perhaps Dillian White, would be quite interesting and enjoyable as well. But no, it was an impressive finish of Gerald Washington, who looks completely done at now. I mean, when he first came on, I think, I'm not saying he would have been, a brilliant heavyweight, but he was by no means a mug. But he definitely seems to have completely capitulated now. Aside from that, obviously Deontay Wilder's, brother, was it him who got levelled in 4 rounds off a journeyman. So that's obviously not a good image for the Wilder clan. Keith Thurman, I mean, it was one of the. I thought it wasn't the worst of fights, to be honest. Thurman was hurt numerous times, but at the same time, what's he had? 24 months out the ring now, I think, something like that. An obscene amount of time, and fingers crossed now that he's had this, he can stay active, because the last thing Thurman wants is he goes quiet and goes missing for the next 12 months because he either, 1, doesn't want to take a particular fight, or 2, he picks up an injury. So it's going to be interesting to see what, I think he called Manny Pacquiao out after the fight, didn't he? So will they make that? I'm not so sure. I would like to see him personally unify with one of the other champions. I wouldn't be disappointed in seeing that, perhaps a Sean Porter or something. So we'll wait and see on Keith Thurman. But no, that's my take on that card.
Andy, just before we go over to the Munguia Inoue card, fans of Box Nation, subscribers of Box Nation, all 7 of them that are left, would have seen last night Vinny Fagenboots in against Premislav Opalach. This was for the vacant GBU World Super Middleweight title. What's going on here, Andy? I mean, Box Nation, it's like an old grandmother sitting ready to be euthanized, isn't it? Still going on. I didn't even know the fight was on until it was halfway through, and I didn't watch it or anything. I mean, talk about Fagan Boots, talk about Box Nation, whatever you want, Andy.
I actually didn't know it was on either, mate. It was Dave Lee that tagged me last night to say that obviously he knows that I'm not a big fan of Fagan Boots, and he just let me know the fight was on. But so I went away, just looked it up and stuff, and I kind of caught the ending this morning. Basically, I think the guy was way overmatched. Like his record just, it's same with Fagan Boots as well. If you get fucking stopped like that off that bum, that just tells you what kind of rank you're at, or either way, you're just there for a normal payday. But again, I think that guy is just basically mainly been fighting in Poland. Fagan Boots, as we all know, he's been gifted title opportunities in the past. He's had gift decisions and stuff.
You don't get gifted the GBU title, Andy.
Aye, or IBF, Intercontinental titles and stuff, mate. It's just, he's just a strong man. He's just well built, just throws wide shots. He's nothing technically gifted about him and stuff like that. It's just, again, Sutherland just really kind of going down the dregs of the slurry, man, to try and get fucking fighters. I've got a couple of good fighters. I will say this, I've got a couple of good fighters and stuff. I need to go into like Leonard Boone and the young black kid, the welterweight guy. I forget his name. It's it'll come back to me. But Fagan Boots, we just need to put a score under him and stuff. His record way beyond padded. His punch, just go look at his opponents. I mean, fucking Reno Leibenberg's probably his best win at this point. Maybe you can say maybe the D. Carolis win, but then again, that was the win. He got gifted a decision there. It was a robbery. He lost the rematch by stoppage. That was his true level, European level. That's where he's at.
He's turned the fight down with John Ryder twice. Vinny the Doorman. When it was mooted around for a potential eliminator or WBA regular title, and they didn't want to entertain it, none whatsoever. So I don't really know what they're going for him. I mean, what I want to know is, do we think the Global Boxing Union belt is next on the hit list of Prince Patel? We know he's a fan of these belts. Is this one that he's going to be looking at now, the Global Boxing Union belt? Definitely.
I wonder if what's the one that your man? Oh, was it Arfith Daniel, the dentist? Which is the one that he's got? He parades it around.
Oh, he's another one.
World Boxing Royalty title.
Is that
the Royal Boxing Organisation Intercontinental Super Welterweight title. And the best thing was, he was seen posing in it with Manchester Mercedes-Benz after he'd won the fight with the manager of the bloody shop.
I remember seeing that title before, mate. I've seen that fight kind of like fought in like French Polynesia and stuff, like places like that. Like, it's really kind of the hot spots you want to see world title fights.
We should genuinely look to start our own belt. I mean, if the Royal Boxing Organisation can, I think the infamous Boxing Asylum Intercontinental title might have a few takers for it, particularly in like the Budapest Fight Club or something like that.
We could even fight for it and probably win it.
Bellew of the Week belt.
Aye.
Well, there you go. You never know. You could have Daniel and Vinny unifying the Royal Boxing belt against the GBU belt. Anyway, sorry. I do love a shit title myself. Andy, anything to add on Vinny?
GBU?
It's the Global Boxing Union. Thank you very much. It was vacant.
The fact we're still talking about a title that he holds and you're asking me to kind of add more to his career and stuff like that, you're like, Steve, why are you doing this to me?
There's also a UBO title, Andy, and a GBC, which is the Global Boxing Council title out there as well.
Yeah. All we can say is this: he turned pro at 16 with no amateur experience. He's now 23 with 30 wins, 2 defeats, and 2 of them are by stoppage. I think he stopped me second pro fight or whatever it was, but he's going to have to put it this way: he's going to have to be very well managed to get a proper world title fight anytime soon. And we all know super middleweight at this point probably is thinning out. Smith's likely going to have to be forced to move up at some point. Alvarez is floating about for here time to time. Uskatagi's obviously been dethroned and stuff. Wait a minute. I suppose I'm expecting Plant and Uskatagi probably rematch, but I just noticed something. Fagan Boots is ranked quite high with the IBF, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that fight getting made. Sutherland might just want to cash him in.
Gabe, I could see you fighting for a GBU title in the Kentucky backwaters there, one of those club shows, knocking some motherfuckers out. Gabe, what do you reckon?
I'll do it, goddammit. Sign me up. What's the sanctioning fee?
$250.
Fucking A. I guess I have to put my beer money on hold for the week.
We'll have a GoFundMe for you, Gabe. There you go. Gabe on the scene, everybody. Journeyman extraordinaire. Talking to journeyman, this ain't no journeyman. This is a world championship contender here. No doubt stalking through the streets of Wexford, rapping Rob Kelly. Rob, we've talked a bit of Thurman. We talked a bit of Tug. We've also, who else was on that card? The big heavyweights as well. What takes your fancy from the Barclays Centre card? Did you see anything of it, Rob?
Well, you can call me the can man, baby, because anyone can get it off that card apart from the heavyweights and the other one, because I only watched Thurman and Josecito Lopez because I was on the beer for the whole weekend, this weekend, Friday and Saturday, which is unusual. But anyway.
Talking of the beer, Rob, Thurman was punch drunk in round 7, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a big shot from... I don't know. I don't think I'm going to add any more than what you've added already about Thurman, I'd say. But like, it's a strange one because 4 years ago, he's the natural successor to Floyd in the welterweight division. All right, there's a lot of talk about Kell Brook was going to be one guy, the main guy at 47. Everybody else thought maybe Thurman. He was punching. He's a nice boxer puncher. Seemed to have the one-time power, as they called, and he was knocking guys over. And then, you know, he's beating Danny Garcia, beating Sean Porter, then gone on hiatus for 2 years with an injury. So I suppose you can't read too much into it with the fact that he's out of the ring for 2 years. Like, but Josecito Lopez is a bread and butter win for any of the other welterweight champions, I believe. I think Spence would stop Josecito Lopez within about 6 rounds. I think Crawford would completely dismantle Josecito Lopez. And I think Lopez probably hit his apex when he broke Victor Ortiz's jaw a couple of years ago to get himself to fight with Canelo. So he's not a great opponent. I said it at the time. After 2 years out of the ring is 2 years out of the ring. I thought Thurman looked pretty good for a guy with that kind of inactivity. He's got good boxing ability. He kind of moves like an old-fashioned boxer puncher. Like, since the era of Floyd, you've had a lot of defensive fighters kind of stand on the back foot and look to maybe move to the ropes and use their defense that way. Thurman does a lot of kind of changing direction, but there doesn't seem to be any kind of great strategy to his work. Like, he paused with the jab a little bit. And as far as like the one-time Thurman moniker, he hasn't knocked anybody out in a little while. Caught Lopez with a good left hook in the second round. Just at the very end, maybe he could have finished it if he caught him a little bit earlier. But definitely has power. But as far, I'm just trying to remember the one time I got excited about Keith Thurman in a fight. Lately, like, I don't think. He doesn't really impress me, and I think he's slightly behind the top 2 welterweights, maybe 3 welterweights. I'd fancy maybe Pacquiao to beat him as well. Like. In the world, like, so I'm not, and he's made it very clear, like in his interviews this week, that he's not ready for the Spence fight anytime soon. He's going to fight him whenever he feels like fighting him, and he's not going to listen to the fight fans. They're not going to dictate when he fights Errol Spence. So that kind of shit puts me off fighters as well. Like, you know what I mean? And I know it's his career and it's his entitlement to do whatever he has to do, but he gave this big impassioned speech about that it's his career and his dream, and everybody's going to have to take their time, and he will fight Errol Spence, but they will meet, but it'll be when it makes sense for him and nobody else. So sounds like a duck to me. Like, yeah, so not blown away by Keith Thurman. I saw the Munguia fight as well.
To me, Rob.
Sorry, dude.
Sounds like a cunt to me.
Yeah. Well, he's polarizing character. People don't really. I don't look anybody's like. He's not anybody's favorite fighter, but he's not anybody's most hated fighter. He's just one of those guys that kind of exists in between those. Like, but I mean, I don't know. Like, Josecito Lopez, I think, is a fighter you should be dealing with. Like, if you're a top welterweight, and that's no shots to him. Like, he's very, like, Lopez didn't do anything extraordinary last night to cause him problems. Like, it's not like he had a great head movement. He wasn't coming in from different angles. He was just plodding forward himself. His own jab was very poor. And he was just throwing punches down the centre and managed to catch him and nearly wipe him out. So I feel like the rest of the top welterweights would destroy Thurman. Like,
Rob, one of my favourite Keith Thurman moments was after he fought, I believe it was Soto Carras in San Antonio, and he gets on the mic afterwards and he goes, "Thank you, San Diego," and then everybody starts booing and he's like, no, San Antonio. think he got a bit mixed up in that one, to be honest with you. But what about the layoff, though, Rob? I mean, he's been out for a long time, hasn't he? We gave Lopez a bit of shit last week, but it wasn't the worst opponent, given he's been out for nearly 2 years.
No, and I like I said, I'd give him enough credit for that. Like, I mean, 2 years out of the ring is 2 years out of the ring. And we all made allowances for Fury when he was off for an extended period, and everybody wants him to take a couple of fights before he goes back in at the top level. But at the same time, Thurman has been allowed to keep the WBA version of the title for the 2 years that he's off. You know what I mean? So you would expect a decent challenger for a world title, nonetheless. Lopez is not the worst opponent for a comeback fight, but I think he should have still, even after 2.5 years out of the ring as a world champion, I think he should be dealing with that guy a little bit better.
Rob, just before you run off, I know you didn't see the Mongolian nightmare Tugsot Nyambiar on the undercard, but he beat Claudio Marrero, and now we reckon he's in line to fight Gary Russell Jr., the WBC champion. Also, Leo Santa Cruz was supposed to fight Miguel Flores. He's now fighting Rafael Rivera. This could be Value of the Week territory, but Juan on Twitter jumped in and said, even more focus, Leo. You know the replacements always come super hungry. But the thing is, Rafael Rivera might be super hungry, but why are we seeing Santa Cruz Rivera? Why are we seeing Gary Russell against Nyambiar? I want to see those two guys fighting each other.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Are they both with Heyman, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
no excuses.
No, it's a fight that could be made, and they could easily be a bit vocal. Santa Cruz is one of these guys. He doesn't really call fighters out. Have you noticed that about him? Like, he seems happy enough to fight whoever Al Heyman puts in front of him.
Money, isn't he?
Yeah, all praises to Al Heyman. Like, he's happy enough to take these guys where, and as well as that, you know what's the really frustrating thing about Santa Cruz is that if he's actually in against a top opponent, you bring his best performances out of him. But if he's fighting some dross journeyman, he's going to box down to their level, and it's going to be just a shit show. Like, so yeah, I would love to see him and Gary Russell Jr. against each other. Like,
Rob, hey to Dave Loback's coming in here. Hey to Dave Loback. What have you got to say?
Santa Cruz has disappointed us since he fought Carl Frampton. As far as Frampton's actually faced a few names. I didn't expect.
And a bit before that, dude. And a bit before that as well. Like, the Frampton fight took long enough, I think, to get in the wheels in motion, and both of them had moved up to avoid Rigo as well. Like, so it's been going on for a while with Santa Cruz.
Yeah, because before Frampton, it was totally shot Kiko Martinez after Scott Craig had annihilated him. Like, ugh.
Do you remember, Dave, Santa Cruz was on the Mayweather-Pacquiao undercard, and he was going to fight Marco McCulloch from Belfast, and he ended up fighting some literal taxi driver or something. It was really getting embarrassing, wasn't it?
That whole card was embarrassing to the world. I think Loma was on it too, and it was an absolute shit opponent.
Yeah, like a Thai guy or something.
And he fought old Christian Mijares.
Thai bride.
And the distance with the guy.
Anything else, Dave?
No.
Yeah, last night on the broadcast, just bringing it back to Nyambiar, they mentioned that he was aiming to become only the second Mongolian world champion of all time. Now, they're obviously not recognising Choi Sven-Peru's WBF reign on these shores. And I was thinking, I didn't hear who they said was the only Mongolian world champion, but I believe I'm right in saying it was a guy called Lakvar Sim. I've checked it up on BoxRec. Indeed, he won the WBA vacant lightweight world title against Miguel Caliste in 2004. And the fight I remember him losing, the WBA title, was to Juan Diaz, who was 24-0 at the time. Good fighter, Juan Diaz. But anyway, Lakvar Sim is the only Mongolian world champion. And Tugsot is aiming to become the second one. So a bit of useless information for you there. Gabe, let's bring you in here, shall we? This was in your backyard, pretty much. I know that you were watching from the window on the Texas Combative Sports Program, Toyota Center, Houston, Texas. I was supposed to say New York, then Texas, sorry. Jaime Munguia against Takeshi Inoue. Now, one thing I'm going to say to you, Gabe, about this fight, right? Inoue, I'm not saying he won a load of rounds, but to put that much effort into a fight and come out with scores of 119, 109 and 120, 108 twice, why would you even bother, Gabe?
Exactly. Why the fuck would you bother? Why would anybody come to the state of Texas for a boxing match if you're not the A side? It makes no sense. No one do it. If any fighters out there or any person out there knows a fighter, if they're not going to be the A side, tell your man not to come to Texas. It's ridiculous. It's consistent bullshit with consistent piss poor judging every fucking time there's a card here. It's ridiculous. The kid, like you said, did not win a ton of rounds. I gave him 4 rounds out of the fight. I couldn't go back and tell you which rounds they were, but I remember giving him 4 rounds out of the fight. A lot of that based on him doing well, putting a lot of effort in, and a lot of Munguia's punches were getting blocked. The body work was really what separated it most of the time, but there was some rounds in there that the kid won. So how are you going to sit there and tell me that this motherfucker came all the way over here from fucking Japan to Texas and got shitted on like he did is ridiculous. Fuck Texas for boxing. I live here. I'm the biggest fan of Texas. I love the place. But if you're a boxer, don't come here. It makes no sense. There's never any reason to come here unless you just want to get jobbed. Or if you're the A side and you find somebody stupid enough to come here and fight. There was no chance ever that he was going to win that fight. Now, if he would have had an extraordinary fight and outworked him, outlanded him by a significant margin, made him look foolish, he still wouldn't have won the fight. If you can sit there and score that fight the way those judges scored that fight, then you can sit and honestly say, from our point of view, there was no fucking way he was ever going to win unless he knocked the son of a bitch out twice. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. Anytime you have a Texas fight, there's always going to be some bullshit. Every time, regardless of who it is.
Fuck Texas, Gabe.
Fuck Texas boxing. Watch your mouth, Stephen.
Sorry about that, sir. Won't happen again. Dave, what about Munguia then? He looks a bit raw, doesn't he, Dave? To be honest with you, he's only young. He's a baby. He's 21 years of age. Sometimes he throws the jab. He looks a bit unorthodox. He looks like he's a little bit disjointed. If he fought someone a lot more seasoned, you could see him getting taken apart, I think. But there's also a lot of positives as well. What did you make of Munguia's performance, putting the scores to one side?
I didn't see this fight, honestly. But just on Munguia, yeah, he's very raw.
I'll fill in the blanks if Dave needs some help on this one.
But he's also very fun to watch. I don't see a ton of learning in his career as far as I don't think he's ever going to be a great boxer, but he'll be fun to watch and he'll be in some good fights. I heard last night was a good slugfest. So I think that's about as much as we can hope from him.
What about the scoring, Dave? Were you disappointed with the scoring?
Well, no, because I didn't score the fight myself, so I have no clue if it was accurate or not, but it sounds like it was poor.
And what about Inoue's performance, Dave? Would you like to see him again?
After that amazing show he put on that I totally saw, yes. I can't wait. I can't wait to see him again.
And what about the referee, Dave? He wasn't the best, was he? No, to be fair.
Was it Russell Mora?
No.
I noticed that they gave Russell Mora the Pacquiao fight the other week. Fucking asshole.
Mora was about somewhere. I saw him at some point. No, it was Mark Callow-Oy.
Oh, sounds like Texas's best.
There you go.
They did have Steve Willis, though. He was in the Thurman fight last night, so at least we got to see him.
Yeah, that was good. You got to see something anyway. Right, Andy, I think you're pumped up and primed for this one. Please tell me you actually saw it.
I did, it was a good fight. I just think maybe Munguia allowed the fight to get too close. He got kind of caught up in a war. Obviously, the Japanese kid, Inoue, just kept coming forward. As I said, I thought Munguia allowed to let it get close, sorry, and just turned into one of the kind of type of wars, I suppose, in the end. As Gabe says, he's quite right to be pissed off. I think the scorecards are definitely disgusting me. I had it something like 7-5 to Munguia. What I was saying to you guys that as well is just before the show started, and that was like Munguia's. I checked his record, and he's been fighting very regularly in that since he turned pro. More so since he's become champion. That's his 5th or 6th fight, I think, in the last 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
The news talking about after the fight that he'd be struggling with the weight, trying to make the fight and stuff like that. He's 22-year-old, right? That's his 30-odd fight, I think it is. I just wonder if he's maybe at the point where he's maybe needing a wee bit of a break. Maybe he's burning out. I mean, he's making all these title defences on quick succession. You know, he's a big kid for the weight, 154. Like, I mean, I thought you could see the side difference in the two of them there last night. Took a hell of a lot of shots, especially those right hands and that were really popping his neck and his head back and stuff. That's added mileage, that's added the damage and punishment that you don't need, especially if you're killing yourself to make the weight. If that's what it's claimed to be, I think his prime could burn out very, very quick. And that was an unnecessary worry got involved there last night. You could see him really kind of torquing in with those left hooks to the body and that as well, really trying to kind of hurt a new way who just simply wouldn't yield, wouldn't bend.
You could see him, Andy, against a better operator, receiving a few flush left
Yeah.
hands, because he was really pulling the body over to one side on those left hooks, wasn't he?
He was
wide open, yeah.
He could really kind of caught maybe like a downward left hand for a southpaw, or maybe even caught a right hook off a southpaw in that as well. But I think the writing could be on the wall with him pretty soon, actually, especially if they keep trying to put him out like this. I just think they're kind of overworking him a wee bit. Problems with the weight now as well could probably force him to go up in that as well. If he was having to go up to middleweight, he's going to come undone at some point in that as well. But some people are talking about his opposition in that as well. I suppose it's not the greatest, I suppose, but he's basically went in there. He's done what he's had to do, I suppose. His management team, they've made fights for him. He's come in there and he's kind of either knocked him aside or won handily or easily in points. I thought, obviously, when the title, that Ali fight was definitely a shock. It was a bit of an upset in that as well. And he's basically kind of continued being active, but I just think he's now at a point where he might be burning out. And I like to see maybe his team maybe kind of step back and stuff like that. Maybe kind of like, I wouldn't say kind of take the rest of the year off, but maybe give him a decent break. And if you're going to put him into a fight next, I'd like to see him maybe potentially put him into one of the unification fights. Maybe Hurd, Castellano, Harrison.
I think Hurd's too seasoned for him, Andy. I really do.
Well, obviously Hurd's he's talking about wanting tune-up fights and that as well. Munguia is a unified champ. He is a titleist. If you're in that position, mate, your number can get called. You're gonna have to step up at some point.
No, I agree with you. But then what they can do is, Andy, you know yourself, they can just keep him away from those fights and keep him with WBO shots. We see it more than ever. The likes of Joshua did it against Charles Martin. People pick up titles when there's a title grab, and then they sort of go back down to the sort of level they should be at to learn all the learning they should have had before that quick title grab. And I think Munguia is a case in point on that. They said, right, here's the Saddam Ali fight. Let's chuck him in there. Bang, see you later. We've got a title. Now let's start learning. And I think last night proved that he's not seasoned enough for the likes of Hurd and even Tony Harris and Charlo.
I don't even know why Kell broke the name stay at 154 and try and get that fight. I mean, it's an instant route into being a world title holder again. And
risk reward for Kell, isn't it? Though against someone like that, he just wants paydays, doesn't he?
I suppose, but that would come into obviously as well. It might get a few paydays from him as well. But does he want Hurd? No, does he? Fuck.
No. Aussie, looking at Munguia, I was, what was I going to say to you? Oh, yeah, one point is, Aussie, do you remember when they were going to chuck him in against Golovkin whenever the Canelo fight fell apart, and they said, we'll put Munguia forward, and the commission declined the fight? I tell you what, see if Munguia had gone up to fight Golovkin, that one could have ended pretty nasty, I think.
Would it have been as bad as that fucking shit they ended up giving us? What was it? Venice Martirosyan versus?
No, not from a mismatch point of view. In that Munguia wouldn't come and have a go, but I think that the way he holds his chin out and he's so raw and novice-like, I could see Golovkin landing some real hard, flush, unanswered shots and hurting him.
Yeah, he's young, he's big. He would have been in there and he would have been able to absorb a tremendous beating. But I think it's bizarre that the commission would approve Venice and not Munguia.
What do you think, Ozzy? Vanez, I suppose, on experience, they approved him on that value.
That's exactly what they did approve him on. I mean, what the bizarre thing was is that I think pretty much straight away after, whilst it was in a different area, he boxed for a world title. No, it wasn't. Sorry, no. When was that? Sorry, when did it crop up?
It was around the May time, Cinco de Mayo, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, so again, in terms of timings, it wasn't a million miles away. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So within, it was a similar time. And anyway, he boxed Saddam Ali and wiped him out. I agree with Andy of sorts. I wonder if he's fatiguing a bit. I've just looked at his thing here now in the past 12 months. So from February 10th to January, so whatever, call it 11 and a half months. He's had 6 fights. Now, 2 of them have gone the distance. That was last night's and the one with Liam Smith. He ironed out Brandon Cook, Saddam Ali, and then he had a couple of early stoppages against Jose Carlos Paz and Johnny Navarrete. Now, whilst he's had a couple of early nights in the ring, some people do forget about is the intensity of camps, etc., things like that, making weight. He's not small for the weight. This is not a guy, who's comfortably making 150. This is a big guy who will probably grow in to be not a small middleweight either. So he
Super
probably
middleweight, I could see him ending up at.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it will not be and he won't be drowned out at super middleweight either. He's 6 foot, so he's not small. There's definitely smaller super middleweights that are currently boxing at the moment. And like Andy said as well, he's had 32 fights and he's only 22. So there's been a lot of toil on that body. And like you say, it's not just what goes on in the ring, it's what goes on out the ring as well. And yeah, maybe it was a bit of fatigue. And at the same time as well, he probably is learning on the job. I think this guy was a bit of an unknown quantity, Takeshi in a way. And he gave it a really good go, I thought. I thought Munguia would wipe him out, to be honest. I thought he'd completely overwhelm him, take him out. And, I didn't see anybody else predict the way the fight this would go. But he was impressive in a way. He was like, he had a good engine. He was boring forward, through big shots, etc. Things like that. Lost clearly, but he gave it a good go. It was obviously his big night. And made it a long night for Munguia. It wasn't easy, so... I agree in terms of I think Jarrett Hurd would destroy him at the moment. More for the fact through basically I think in terms of levels and quality. That in terms of Munguia, who would you say one of his? It's probably a toss up. Realistically, you'd probably say that either Saddam Ali or Liam Smith is one of his best.
Ali, it's going to be Ali.
Yeah, Ali. Yeah,
Ali beat Cotto.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I agree with that. Depending on the version of what.
Yeah, but it's still Cotto the way.
Yes, yeah. So Saddam Ali, who in reality as well was never a 154.
Yeah, and Liam Smith got a defence against Jimmy Kelly for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
Jimmy Kilrain, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Jimmy Kelly. He won the belt against that John Thompson, who was garbage as well. And
shit.
Don't forget about Predrag Radosavich, Ozzy.
I was just going to say him. Yeah,
shooting squads.
So that's regardless. Smith he's a tough guy and a decent style. But yeah, Saddam Ali. So I think in terms of experience, I'm just going to look at that. I don't think they'll look to unify with anybody in the near future. It's going to be interesting to see where they go next. It really is. I saw something on that Liam Williams is being lined up for another potential eliminator. It might be WBC, it might have been a WBO, with the guy that Martin Murray boxed. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if they look to get Liam Williams this opportunity further down the line. The strings Frank Warren can pull, things like that. Otherwise, I don't really know where Munguia is going to go. Can you see him going in with like a Lara? I agree. I think Kell Brook should look to take this fight. I think it's a winnable fight for Kell Brook. Does he do it? No, because they'll say the money isn't there, and the money, the cash, the risk isn't there. And then you've really got to question. I'm drifting off now, but is Kell Brook really interested in becoming a 2-8 world champion when Munguia probably at 154? Excluding I would probably say that Munguia is one of the easier champions that Brook could go in and defeat.
Completely agree with that, Ozzy. I think Brook wants paydays with the least amount of effort, to be honest now. And I've said before, he's got one foot out of the sport. I'll not say that again. On the undercard, Virgil Ortiz Jr. got a win. Didn't see that one. Jesus Roas, bit of an upset possibly. I thought he would beat Kanzu. He lost over 12 rounds. Didn't see it at all. Rob, tell me about Munguia. Is there a case of Golden Boy pushing him along a little bit because they're trying to build the next Mexican star and following the footsteps of Canelo?
Great point. You actually took the words out of your mouth. I was just going to say Ozzy and Andy made good points about the weight with him, and the possibility that he's burning out from just being so active. But I think you're dead right. I think Golden Boy are not stupid. They're after turning Canelo. Canelo's been their cash cow for a number of years, and now they're after turning that cash cow into the highest paid athlete in the world. And I think they're not stupid. They know Munguia brings a Mexican fan base, and that's the kind of the base point for turning a kind of boxing superstar on that side of the world. He's young, a lot of similarities. Young, fought a very paddy record up to this point, but now he's in world title fights. But I think they know, they want him to grow, and eventually he's going to campaign at 60, possibly 68 down the line. But he's very green at the moment. He's very green at the moment. He makes a lot of mistakes, and I think the boys are right. He could be there for the taking in a unification fight, which might scupper the Golden Boy plans. But I think they're going to be very careful with him. Like, I don't see him in against Howard anytime soon. Maybe the Harrison fight. They might think he can bulldoze Harrison a little bit. But it's how long is he going to hang around at 54 for either? Like, he's very big chap. Like, but like I said, green enough. Like, I don't know if he's going to quite hit the heights that Canelo's hit in terms of appeal across market, just with his style. Like, his style is all right. He's very physical. He's overwhelming his opponents. He's come forward fighter. He's a bit of he does good body work, but he's nothing amazing. Like, he hasn't got any eye catching combinations. He's not like hasn't got the kind of one punch KO thud power either. Like, I just don't know if he's. I think I could see, like I said, I agree with you. I could see what Golden Boy are trying to do with him. I just don't think that. I think it's going to be very difficult to kind of replicate the achievements of Canelo. And not to forget, like, Canelo pretty much fought everyone on the way up as well, and was willing to fight everyone. Like, you know, he was in line for the Victor Ortiz fight before Josecito Lopez broke his jaw. He was going to fight Paul Williams before Paul Williams' accident. He fought Austin
Rob,
Trout.
I think we bumped down Joe Gallagher there, mate.
No, that's not my one. I think that must be Joe's himself, man. But what I'm saying is, like, Canelo was very much willing to fight everybody on the way up. Like, you know, wins over Austin Trout, all right in age, Shane Mosley, but Cotto, Floyd, a fight against Floyd at a very young age. I just don't see them risking Munguia the same way. Like,
well said, Rob. Let's move on, everybody, shall we? We've got Value of the Weeks coming up at the end of the show. Also, the previews for next week. A few questions lingering around as well. Episode 307 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. Don't forget to hit a like on the old YouTube page there. Hit a like or a dislike if you want, I suppose. If you think that was shit, you know, like, dislike, whatever. It's all good with us. We don't care. What have we got here? Something on the phone. Yeah, someone was messaging me during the week, actually. I'll not name them, but anyway, they were messaging about Badu Jack. We were talking about his bad cut last week, and the message said, I was talking to Badu Jack in the summer, and you can see all the scar tissue that has built up above his eyebrows and on his forehead. It's that cartilage-type scar tissue that builds up in fighters like cauliflower ears, but on the face. Hence, it can be ruptured so terribly like that. Now, this is a point that I was thinking myself about the possibility of hitting a vein and how dangerous that would be. If he had just split the vein that loads of people have been saying that runs from the top of the nose to the hairline, then we would have been bleeding to death in the ring like that UFC fighter Alex Oliveira the other week. I'm not aware of this, but there's a clip apparently of UFC star Alex Oliveira getting 29 stitches in his forehead after suffering a horror cut, which left him covered in blood during defeat against Gunnar Nelson. Yeah, Dave, it looks like I've seen a photo of it. It's a pretty bad one, but the gentleman here is making point of Badu Jack and a lot of scar tissue built up around the head, which exacerbated the cut. And say what you want about this, Dave, this Alex Oliveira, it's a pretty nasty one, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely fucking brutal. I mean, nasty cuts happen in the UFC all the time with blood flying all over the octagon. But that was probably the worst I've seen. It was, I think it was from a downward elbow, and immediately his face became totally red. And, you know, in that game, you often have you have guys on the ground because there's wrestling involved. And so that, I believe he was laying on his back, and it formed just a lake of blood over his face almost instantly. Fun also thing to note about cuts in that kind of sport. It can actually help you out. I've seen a guy who got cut real bad, and he was on top in the ground grappling more, and the blood dripped from his face into his opponent's eyes, and ultimately made it like impossible for him to concentrate or focus on anything except trying to see, and won him the fight.
Yeah, pretty nasty. Getting cut, no fun, I suppose, for anybody. Aussie will be coming to use shortly on the Matchroom card over in Greenwich, featuring Sergio Garcia against Ted Cheeseman, Felix Cash, Lauren Tacoli, all that type of stuff. Just before we do so, Andy, question came in from Tottenham Boxing. This is an old one from last year, but let's get it out the way, shall we? It's about drug testing, Andy. I know this is your sort of area. With VADA seemingly being the only organisation catching drugs cheats in world title contention, can we trust any fighter who is in world title contention or a world champion that is not signed up to VADA testing? Can we trust anyone, Andy, who's not signed up to the stringent VADA testing?
I don't think so. I just think, you know, I've said this before. I think when you've got loads and loads of money on the table, big potential opportunities, world title fights and stuff, you know, obviously, you know, you're going to try and cut corners, try, you know, everybody's at it. I mean, it doesn't matter what scheme you're at. It could be sports, it could be an office job, and that. Everybody's trying to make cuts, trying to make savings and that, but trying to do extra, trying to kind of get the marginal gain, so to speak. This seems to be the watchword. Marginal gains. That's like Team Sky Cycling kind of pull that shit off, whilst Chris Froome's fucking cycle up a mountain, puffing like 14 times off an inhaler. Even those that are employed in enrolled in the drug testing program, I don't even think they can be trusted, because we're seeing violence catching guys. I wouldn't say consistently or persistently, but we are seeing a number of these fighters getting caught. I still think there's a lot more that can be done, especially like the national commissions and that. Especially in the UK, it's all like say government finance and stuff like. If you get like organisations that are government financed, there's obviously going to be elements of like issues with that, corruption, if you want to say it for another thing. But do you really believe or trust any sort of government organisation getting involved in drug testing and sports and to do it competently? I just don't see it. It's just me, but it's just my bad mind. Sorry, but I can take the point though. Those that are in the drug testing program, I think we can look at most of those guys and say, look, they're trying to do it right. They're trying to be clean. That's why Lanito Donaire was probably a trailblazer back in the day, and that we could always say that he was probably clean. He never tested positive. He enrolled in VADA. I think at this point, VADA, whether there's some sort of negative publicity relating to them or whatever, I still think they are the best. And if a fighter does test positive, they do seem to be quite clear. Their position is this: they will report it, and they will basically make a public statement that a fighter has failed a drug test, rather than the likes of USADA, for example, who are publicly funded. We can go back to the Amir Khan Lamont Peterson fight when they wanted the Golden Boy wanted that kept quiet, so they wanted the fight to go ahead. And actually, they want the fight to go ahead because they're going to lose money on that card being suspended or whatever. And then we've seen situations in the past where Danny Garcia and against Eric Morales. Morales, I think he tested positive for clenbuterol, I think it was. And they tested it and tested and tested and tested. He tested like 4 times until he actually passed clean. And that was under USADA. So you think again, there's obviously there's underlying issues there. So I think at this point VADA is probably the best, but it's nowhere near perfect. And I still think people are at it, even those that are still in the programs.
Well, I think Floyd is a trailblazer for the sport as well, because he constantly called for drug testing using USADA, Las Vegas-based USADA, with their $11 million funding per annum. So, yeah, another trailblazer for the sport.
Yeah, plenty of legitimate points being raised. Obviously, drugs, it's the blight on boxing, unfortunately, at the moment. Talking to Floyd Mayweather, actually, I was on the phone last night with unbeaten American prospect Saul Neno Rodriguez. He's 26-0-1. He has about 15 or 16 knockouts. He was with Top Rank, then he went over to Floyd, partied hard, came back to Top Rank again. I was on for about 10 minutes on the phone last night. I'm going to be dropping it on YouTube at some point during this week for you all to have a listen to, so keep an eye out for that interview with Saul Neno Rodriguez. He's looking towards a world title fight soon, hopefully. Interesting character, nice fella. Moving on, we're going to go to you, Ozzy. Just before we do, actually, let's throw this question out there for everybody. Now, we're not going to answer it now. I'm going to give you a chance to all have a listen and then maybe come up with an idea. It's an interesting, quite fun question from Danny Young. We do like a bit of fun on the pod here. He said, fantasy question to fill a gap if needed one week, but we'll throw it out now. Tag team style boxing at each weight, says Danny Young. He says, teams must be pre-1990 in one corner and post-1990 in another corner. So we've got 2 guys from the pre-1990 era and 2 guys from the post-1990 era at the same weight. My mates and me have been back and forth on this one, Danny Young. So, for example, I'm thinking you could have, say, Carlos Monzon and Marvin Hagler tag teaming against Bernard Hopkins and
Canelo.
Gennady Golovkin. Something like that. So we'll throw it out, Andy. We'll come to it after we've done our Matchroom chat, and then hopefully I'll give everybody a chance to have a listen. So you go off and have a piss. Or...
No, I've got a rough idea what I want to say. It's okay.
You got a rough idea. Excellent. Right. Okay. Well, we'll go to you first, Ozzy, on the Matchroom show before we go on to the tag team boxing. Then in Greenwich next week, February the 2nd, Sergio Garcia, as I mentioned, against Ted Cheeseman. He's a decent fighter, Cheeseman, actually, 15-0. The thing is about Garcia, he's coming in 28, fights, unbeaten in all those fights, 13 knockouts. He's got a pleasing record on the eye, but if you look at his record, he's built it up against a lot of, these Eastern European type guys, won the Spanish title, and he only won the European title vacant in his last fight. So it might be a bit of smoke and mirrors possibly with Garcia. He could turn out to be a Kiko Martinez or a Kermin Leharaga, or he could be someone who just folds. We don't know, Ozzy.
Exactly that. I was just going to say then, had you not mentioned it, that we can't always underestimate certain Spaniards. I mean, Kermin Laraya, who absolutely ironed out Bradley Skeet, and then Frankie Gavin, has proven that he's got more than what his original record suggested. However, for Sergio Garcia, I think his style is quite made for Ted Cheeseman. Not a huge puncher. Kind of pretty a basic style, to be honest, and I think Cheeseman will probably walk him down and bully him on the ropes. Things like, I like Ted Cheeseman as well. I think he's a decent boxer. He can take it rough. I like the way he's been matched. He's none of this bullshit from where he wants to, have 15 learning fights and then he'll box for an area belt and then do this and do that. He's been matched tremendously well, and I always say I think he's one of Matchroom's better prospects. He's just not got the, like the big backing, like he didn't go to the Olympics, etc. Things like that. And I mean, like I say, I like the way he's been matched. He's won English titles, and then he's come up. He had the typical Matchroom test of Carson Jones, Paul Upton he destroyed, and then he had a decent enough fight with Asinia Byfield. Got caught, showed vulnerabilities without being hurt of sorts, but showed that he can get tagged. But I think the fight against Garcia, if there was to be a European title fight for him, is one of the better options, and I see him winning. I don't think he'll stop the guy. I don't think Cheeseman's power has proven to be as concussive as when he has stepped up in levels. However, I still think he'll have enough, and I think he'll outwork Garcia and probably take a relatively wide points decision, which will be an excellent win. I mean, he's talking about world titles after that and things like that, but I think it'll be then up to his management and his promotional team to just stem the flow a little bit and have probably 3 or 4 fights at European level, because you can still get former world champions, fringe world level contenders who will all happily box for a European title, because I think, as far as I'm aware, that the European title gives you a ranking across all 4. So whilst it's an excellent achievement, there's also more on the line as well, that you can be well ranked in all 4 governing bodies. So for Cheeseman, but I think he'll definitely have enough to get the win there. In terms of the rest of the card, it's pretty poor, to be honest. When the fight was announced, I saw people like Coley on there and things like that. I thought they might build it up, with just good, consistent British title Commonwealth fights, or just international fights international belts for a couple of English lads, etc. But sadly, it's not worked out that way. Lawrence Okoli going into fight week with no opponent that is to the public, so I can't see him defending his British or Commonwealth title.
Ozzy, can I ask you about the Felix Cash fight, actually? Because this is the one I wanted to talk to you about. This could be a dodgy fight alert if it's even going ahead, because Felix Cash is supposed to be going in against 11-4-1 Rashid Abalaji. Yeah. And the thing is about him, this is for the vacant Commonwealth middleweight title, but Afalaji actually fought 6 days ago, right, in Al Ayoun, and he lost by retire.
The fight's going to be off then.
That's what I'm wondering.
In terms of
Western Sahara, I mean, fuck.
Yeah, that can't go ahead.
I mean, with the British Boxing Board of Control, any fighter that has been knocked out will serve a minimum suspension of 30 days.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that is whether you've been knocked out in America, France, Spain, Germany. Fucking hell, where is this here? Is it in Abu Dhabi or something like that?
It's Western Sahara. I think it's a Moroccan territory, apparently.
Is that where it is? Yeah. So, I mean, why he's taking that sort of fight now, I do not know. Which makes me think, was he ever?
Because he hadn't fought since for over a year, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what I'm not a fan of with the Commonwealth. I think you see a lot of these days now. You see these random, like these Nigerian lads or Ghanaians being pulled in who've got truly shambolic records, and you think, well, how can these contest for a Commonwealth belt? And I mean, don't get me wrong, you do get some good ones like Richard Comey, etc., things like that. But being brutally honest, there's not many that are that good. And you think, well, how are these guys mandatory for Commonwealth titles, etc.?
I think that could have been an embarrassing situation, judging by looking at him on BoxRec and the way he's set up in the picture with those sort of cheap gloves, and I think that could have been embarrassing. Samuel Baby.
He fought Sam Sheedy.
He fought Sam Sheedy. The name rings a bell now. Sheedy, I mean, took it on Sheedy when I remember it now. This guy was actually lined up to fight Elliot Matthews as well at the back end of last year. Elliot Matthews is a middleweight. I think he should have been in line to box like Nick Blackwell, etc., things like that, for this Commonwealth title, and it's not gone ahead. I remember it now. This was happening at the back end of 2018. So, I mean, I just can't see how the board will approve him, considering he was knocked out, 7 days ago. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be disappointing as well, because Felix Cash is a fighter that's been crying out for a step up. And whilst this guy probably wasn't a step up, it would have given him the platform to win a Commonwealth belt from then, where he can look on and, get more credible opponents that will come on and take him and challenge Felix Cash. So I think we've got to wait and see on that one. Jake Ball, Craig Richards. That's a really good fight, that. 12-1 against a 13-1.
Yeah.
I think Jake Ball will ultimately, I think he'll be too big for Craig Richards. Richards obviously he suffered his first defeat against Frank Buglioni. He was a last-minute call-up for the British title fight. Didn't disgrace himself, but I felt the fight was a bit too early. I mean, when Buglioni's kind of outboxing you, it's not the best of signs, because Buglioni, we know, wasn't all that. Ball, he left Jimmy McDonnell and decided to move up to Sheffield. He's now training with Dominic Ingle, so he's changed his lifestyle there. And I do, for what everybody says and like what goes on in the gym, I do rate Dominic Ingle as a trainer. I think he's very good at what he does. He has them in routines, etc. He does get them fit. And he's shown me, like with Liam Williams, Billy Joe Saunders, that his fighters really can put on excellent performances. And I think Ball will benefit from that. I don't think he'll stop Richards, but I think he'll box to a wide points decision. And aside from that, just going off BoxRec, that's pretty much it. Scott Fitzgerald's having a run out before he boxes Anthony Fowler in Liverpool. As a young heavyweight on there, Fabio Wardley, I think he's quite exciting. A debut for Matchroom, one of Matchroom's new young signings, Charles Frankham. I think he was quite a highly decorated amateur.
Mm-hmm.
John Doherty's making his third appearance. And then, like I said, you've got Lawrence Okoli on there, who, again, I think he's the British and Commonwealth. Sorry, he's not the Commonwealth champion anymore, but he's the British cruiserweight champion, and seemingly couldn't get a fight. So it's really disappointing. Okoli, like I said, for the garbage fights he's had and disappointing performances against Matty Askin and Isaac Chamberlain, he did have, in terms of opponents, a really good 2018 Chamberlain, Watkins, Askin. So to start off the year from where it shouldn't be a tick-over fight, it's disappointing that an opponent couldn't be pulled in. And I listened to a video with Steve Goodwin, and they were lining up the Wadi Camacho fight, which would have been for the British and Commonwealth titles, but terms couldn't be agreed, and Goodwin said, look, we know what the price is. If you can give us that, we'll take the fight. This is the deadline. We want the fight signed by, I think it was the 23rd of December. Obviously, Goodwin's now in America to watch Richard Conway coming up this weekend. Camacho was looking at booking a holiday. The deadlines were not met, and they came back about 10 days after, and they said, look, we've got plans now. We've booked to go away. I'm not here, etc., things like that. And it couldn't be agreed, and the money he was offering was derisory. So that's a shame that couldn't happen. So a disappointing start to 2019 for Lawrence Okoli, to be honest, after a good opponent-wise 2018, but performance obviously not as good.
Yeah, I like the Ball Richards fight. I think they both had a loss. I'm pleased to see them both going in against each other. It's similar to when Luke Watkins fought Isaac Chamberlain after they both lost to Okoli. I'm pleased to see those kind of fights. Disappointing we're not going to see Rashid, though. Just looking up his record here, he has a loss to Obade Sai, but in a running theme along Rashid's record, he lost in 2015 to Sunday Adjua. He also has a loss to Dennis Sunday, and in 2016, he defeated Sunday King Hammer for the vacant Nigerian middleweight title. So disappointed.
I've just stuck his last fight on there, that one he had in Western Sahara. I've just come across it there on YouTube. It's like it's in French and that, so I've just stuck it on there. Seems okay, okay to a point that he lets the jab go, he lets his hands go. He's quite aggressive, well built, naturally for an African. I don't know. I mean, just looking at this guy, I mean, I'm trying to remember. I think he might have caused Felix Cash a wee bit an issue, but I've just tweeted Eddie Hearn there as well, asking, and I've tagged Cash in it to find out if this fight's still happening.
Good stuff, Andy. If we have anything live on air, we'll let you know. Rob, just looking at the main event, like we said, Sergio Garcia is the EBU champion, super welterweight champion. If Ted Cheeseman can defeat him, as we expect, and Anthony Fowler gets past Scott Fitzgerald, which I think he will, I'd like to see Cheeseman in against Fowler for the European title.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, I think both of them kind of need each other at this stage of their career for a high-profile fight, because, you know, Eddie's going to build it up, like. So Cheeseman's been doing well. He's been solidly growing. He's been putting in good performances, getting good wins. Fowler's kind of had it handed to him a little bit so far. Fowler seems to think he has the beating of Cheeseman. Cheeseman thinks Fowler's going to be easy work. I think Cheeseman has the edge, obviously, now, but it's one that you want to see pretty much now to see where both of them are. Like, I would give Cheeseman the edge now on what I've seen so far from both of them. But I think they kind of need each other now for a high-profile fight, because realistically, if they both come through this, who else is there for them, like, to fight? So, it'd be interesting to see that one for sure.
Word from you, Andy, on that main event. I like Cheeseman's output. He seems to be, pretty active. He has a go. It's the lack of power, I think, could be the issue, trying to keep Fowler off him and maybe give Fowler the edge against Cheeseman. I'm not really sure. What do you think?
I know what you mean. Cheeseman's obviously. I just think Cheeseman's probably been in with a better oppo. To a point. I mean, obviously the Upton fight. Carson Jones is a decent step up for someone at that age. No age, I suppose at that age, I would say. Fowler obviously he's got international experience, been on the GB squad and stuff. But it's a good step up this for Cheeseman, actually. Sergio Garcia, obviously, I think it's maybe a safe option as well. I don't think the guy punches all that hard. As for Fowler and that, I believe he's going to beat Fitzgerald. I believe, well, off his last fight at least, Fitzgerald wasn't impressive. I would think Fowler would probably beat him. To that point, I really believe Fowler's going to be managed perfectly, because I do believe he's really is one of those that's going to get iced as soon as he goes up in level. So I think they maybe match him pretty well. Cheeseman might be the future oppo. For like a Fowler and that, but I maybe looking. Who knows? Maybe Fitzgerald has got something in him. He can maybe turn the tables, maybe make us think differently about him.
Fancy Fowler against Fitzgerald, to be honest.
Possibly. Would you think knockout?
Yeah, I've never been impressed with Fitzgerald.
No, I've never really been impressed by Anthony Fowler. I mean, who the hell's he fought? I mean, come on, think about it. I mean, would you say that, looking at anybody's records, that Fowler's beat anybody? Just take like Cheeseman for example. Would you say I think he fought that Gorbich? I think that's probably his best win. Probably Gorbich. Maybe who else? Maybe Fitzgerald's going to be his best win. Who knows? Yeah,
I'm not that impressed with Fowler either, to be honest. I don't think he's any great shakes. But every time I've seen Fitzgerald, and I'm going to bring Ozzy in a minute because I know Ozzy rates Fitzgerald, I've never seen it. I've heard the stories and, he's talented fighter and everything. I've never seen it in the ring as a pro, so I can only go by that, Andy.
We as well bringing Ozzy in then, because obviously you're the one that was really giving us, well, not giving us, but you're saying, like you say, Fitzgerald, you're really impressed with him and stuff. Like his last fight, he wasn't all that great, was he? And then would you give him a chance against Fowler? Change your opinion on that one?
I did. And I fancied him big time against Anthony Fowler. Obviously, against Craig Morris in his last fight, Fitzgerald snapped a bone in his hand in the second round. So basically, one of his hands was basically out of action. Still throwing shots with it, but obviously, I mean, a broken hand, you can't do damage like you usually could with it. That saying, his performance was inexcusable, and I know there was problems just weeks before camp going into that. But he's actually left Michael Jennings now, and he's no longer training there, and he's gone back training with his dad in Preston. So I knew I know what Fitzgerald, and I know I've spoken to the Jennings brothers a hell of a lot about Fitzgerald, and obviously they give me an insight into what he's like and how good he really is. And I've spoke to other people, connected to like the VIP stable who who managed Scott, and he's really well thought of. I mean, this guy's won Commonwealth medals. He's no mug. I think he's won ABA titles as well. So look, this guy was just as good an amateur, really, in terms of levels as Anthony Fowler. Fowler may have more accolades, but Fitzgerald has beaten the best and has claimed medals at huge global tournaments. But I think now, like being trained by his dad, etc., things like that, his dad was involved, but I just don't see it working. I think he's too much in his comfort zone there, being in Preston. He's got it comfortable. I think coming away to the gym, I think there was plans from where he would have been, like staying in the area, having his diet watched, etc., things like that. But I think now, I always think boxers could do with taking themselves out the comfort zones for training pretty much everywhere, really, because I think it's easy when you're in your own environment, with mates, etc., things like that. Frankie Gavin, a prime example. Not all of them are like that, but I think the majority can easily be led astray. And I think Fitzgerald, from leaving the gym, and like I said, going more to it's not far away either, Preston to Chorley. I just think it'll be too much, and I think Fowler will probably get him out of there. I could be wrong. I could completely call it wrong, and Fitzgerald has a completely new lease of life under his back in Preston and looks unbelievable. But Fitzgerald struggled against Adam Jones, and that is whilst he was predominantly training at Preston, and the Jennings lads were first in the corner, and they'd had him about 10, 15 days. So,
Right, okay. That's. Yeah. I was going to ask you about this, you see, because I thought I was maybe doing Fitzgerald a disservice or getting him mixed up with somebody else. It wasn't just the Morris fight; there was another fight. I seem to remember, wasn't it on a show where there was like an early knockouts, and he got pushed on right before the main event or something, like unexpectedly?
Yeah, it was in Liverpool actually, and he got.
Is that
dropped.
the one? Right. Okay.
He got dropped off Adam Jones.
Yeah, he looked poor, but there might be mitigating circumstances. But I wasn't. Yeah,
he did. He got dropped, and he struggled. Now, I mean, Adam Jones, to be fair, is better than his record suggests, and he gives any prospect a tough night because he's never been knocked out. I don't think he's ever looked like being wobbled. This guy can take a shot, and he can bully people as well. But in terms of like the caliber of what Fitzgerald has been with as an amateur, I mean, I know the changeover is different. You would still think he'd be handling him pretty comfortably. That saying, Jones, like I said, dropped him, wobbled him as well. He was hurt.
Yeah. And Sky had given him the big build-up, you see. It was like, here, we're putting this lad on, former gold medalist. And I was like, here we go. He could be decent. And I was really underwhelmed.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, he bounced back with like a win over a nobody in Preston Guildhall. Then he beat Bradley Price and Ishmael Teti. He's a Ghanaian that's boxed for a couple of Commonwealth belts. And then, like I said, he struggled with Craig Morrison. Being brutally honest, had he not pulled out the stop in the big punch in the 10th, he'd have lost. And that Anthony Fowler fight would have been in the complete opposite direction. So it's going to be interesting. I don't see him going back to Jennings' gym in the near future anyway. I just can't. I think too much has gone on there now for him to go back. It would be great if he did, and I think he will benefit from that. If he does, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I've made a big U-turn. I think Fowler will dispose of Fitzgerald. However, I've always said, and I think Cheeseman will beat Anthony Fowler, and that is because Cheeseman has been tested on the way up, whereas Fowler has been matched perfectly. He's not been with anybody really of note. Like I said, Gabo, Gorbix, shite. Craig O'Brien, 8-0, but no real record. Ryan Toms is probably one of his best wins. Like I said, he disposed of Jay Byrne. That Jose Carlos Paz, who we mentioned before, funnily enough, who's Jen Munguia boxed 12 months ago. So, no, and I think people will get found out. We've seen Fowler hurting an amateur. Whilst I don't think Cheeseman will stop him, I think he will beat him. I think he'll win on points. But the good fights, it's a good situation to be in. I mean, you can throw Liam Williams into that mix as well. Look, these guys are contesting for European titles. Liam Williams is definitely a 154 European level fighter.
With Frank, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but I tell you what, we've seen it now from where crossover fights can happen, and I think if Takeshi, particularly if it's Cheeseman as well, in my opinion, I think the more likely to let Cheeseman go. Well, the winner, I think, the more likely to go, because I don't know if Cheeseman Fowler will happen immediately. But if the cash is there or it gets ordered, there is no reason why those fights can't happen. And if not, it's stupid because, like I said, winning the European title gets you ranked in all 4 governing bodies, and it's a good fight, which will, I mean, not that I care, but the fighters will get well paid for it as well.
Right, Dave, the hater Loback's quit on his stool. He's disappeared. Gabe, I'm going to assume that you have no interest in Ted Cheeseman, so I'm going to move on to the show in Texas. Getting frisky in Frisco, Gabe. We've got Eleider Alvarez rematch against Sergey Kovalev. Also, Richard Comey, as we mentioned there, is going over to fight Issa Chaniev. Never heard of him. The main event in this card, is not actually Alvarez Kovalev. I believe it is Oscar Valdez coming back to defend his WBO featherweight title against the undefeated former EU champion Carmine Tomasoni from Italy. Patrick Day is fighting Iliev Teofimo Lopez, 11-0. Off the back of a knockout win over Mason Menard. He's going in against Diego Magdaleno. That could be a decent fight. I think he's going to knock Magdaleno out early, to be honest. And also, Bakram Murtazaliev. He's one to keep an eye on. 14-0, super welterweight. He's going in for the WBC United States USNBC super welterweight title. That sounds like bullshit. He's fighting Elvin Ayala. I can't believe he's still going.
Sounds like a fucking 90. TV station, that belt, by the way.
USNBC, Andy.
That's
Elvin.
In fact, they might even have a station like that. I don't know. The Yankees will tell us. Gabe.
Maybe they do, Gabe. I don't know if they do or not, to be honest. But the point is, Gabe, the point I'm trying to make here is that it's a decent card. I'm giving Top Rank and Uncle Bob some props. Also, main events, Kathy Duva. This is a decent show on ESPN, ESPN Plus. Are you going, Dave? The Ford Center at the Star, Frisco, Texas. How far is that away from you?
Oh, it's probably about a solid 2 hours away, depending on traffic, 2.5. Actually, I'm not going to be able to get to go to this one. I wanted to because I'm a big fan of Valdez. As you said, this is a really good card. The main event, if you will, with Sergey Kovalev and Storm Alvarez should be a decent scrap. I don't see any reason why Alvarez won't win and knock him out again. Kovalev's done. He was done after the loss to Ward. The first loss was bad enough. The second loss did him in. Completely done. If Kovalev wins, I'll be shocked. Now, that's not to say I'm not a fan of Kovalev. I still like Kovalev, and I still think he's a fun guy to watch. Brings a lot of value. But his time is up. And Alvarez, sat idly by for so long as a mandatory and waited for a long time, it seems, to get into the position he's in now. And I don't think his grip's going to be lessened by just about anybody in the division for quite a little while. Valdez, I'm really like Oscar Valdez. Really super fun fighter to watch. Quick hands, got some pop. Although I think his power sometimes is a little bit, maybe a little overrated. He can hurt you, but he's not, like a devastating, crushing puncher type guy. I think it's solid, powerful. He reminds me more of a Marco Barrera type, a guy that puts a lot of pop into each punch he throws, and so every time he hits you, it's not going to feel good, and it may not knock you out, but it's going to certainly build up, and it's going to do what he intended for it to do. So I'm really high on Valdez, like that guy. And then Teofimo Lopez. So they're building him as a big power puncher. From what I've seen of him so far, he's not one of those guys that's had his whole career broadcasted, as far as I can tell. But from what I've seen of him and his last fight out, I think that should be a good fight. I actually think this is going to be probably the most competitive fight on the card, unless there's some really good stuff on the under card that may be broadcasted at a earlier time. Because I think Diego Magdaleno can box him a little bit. I think he's gonna work the youngster a little bit, make him think, and make him have to do things a little bit differently. Because Diego knows he's not a puncher. Anybody that's watched him knows that Diego is not the puncher here, and so I think he's going to have to be crafty. He's going to have to be quick, and he's going to have to do a lot of lateral movement in order to win this fight. He's going to have to keep Teofimo Lopez off, which is probably not going to happen. I don't see this fight going the distance. I think there's going to be a knockout for Lopez, but I do think that Diego Magdaleno is going to maybe show us just how high up on the food chain Teofimo Lopez is, because like I said, he's a solid fighter. I still maintain he beat Rocky Martinez over in Macau, China, to win that title a few years back when Bob was putting on those Macau cards with the old Zhu Shiming is the kind of headline guy over there. But I've always thought Diego was a pretty solid fighter. So I think that will probably be the best card of the evening. It seems to be a pretty good event, and the judges out in Dallas and Fort Worth, whenever they have fights out there, don't seem to be as inept as the ones out in San Antonio and Houston, for that matter. It seems like Houston and San Antonio are the two really bad places to go. For some reason, those two places just have a rash of really, really bad decisions. But the whole state is terrible, so I'm sure that we'll see some kind of tomfoolery and nonsense.
Fuck Texas then, Gabe.
Attaboy.
For what it's worth, Rob, I know people aren't really interested in what I have to say, more you and the guys. But anyway, Eleider Alvarez, I think he's going to win this rematch. I think he's fresh, he's hungry, he's big. Kovalev's day has maybe gone. I know Kovalev's out there battering. Didn't he beat up a woman or something? They've kept this quiet.
Yeah.
Last summer, I think it was, and it's come out now, which is maybe opportune for somebody, not so opportune for him.
They said that it was prior to the last Alvarez fight, so that maybe that was kind of, they're trying to make excuses now or whatever, seeing as it's come to light. But the story is that he propositioned a girl at a party and she rejected him, and him and his friend followed her to her apartment and basically battered her. Now I don't know if those allegations are true. That, you know what I mean. That's surprising. I don't know if they're that surprising. Like, Kovalev doesn't really seem like an altogether nice guy. Like, if I was to put money on it,
he's a legit dude. Like, I mean, I would imagine he's like salt of the earth type character.
I agree. Yeah. In his defence, he does. I don't think he's denied it, but he said, "Listen to the full story" or something vague like that, Rob.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's possible with celebrities, when there's money involved. You know, these kind of things have happened in history over and over. But there's always a grey area. And I'm just saying, if I was a betting man, like, and someone asked me, would you think Kovalev might hit a woman? I'd be like, I wouldn't put the house on no, yes. Like, you know what I mean? So, but look, that's neither here nor there in the ring. I don't know how it's going to affect his performance. I know he's gone to Buddy McGirt now. So
he's pregnant again, I'm sure, as well. Kovalev's.
What's that?
Hey, I think
I'm sure Kovalev's missus is pregnant again.
Yeah, so
I think the thing that makes a lot of sense to me is he's still going to lose. They're just trying to have another reasoning excuse. He's always got an excuse for losing. You know, you see some guys sometimes that will own up to it and say, you know, I didn't train like I should have, or this or that, or whatever reason. That makes perfectly good sense. But the guy always has excuses. I don't think this fight's going to be different on this card than it has been in his previous 3 or 4 fights when he's gotten beat. He's always had some kind of bullshit excuse.
Well, I think Alvarez is going to come into the fight supremely confident, having fucking stopped him. Like, and I think he's going to feel like, if I can hit this guy, he's going to go again. Like, you know, he's been exposed. The second Ward fight's broken him. You know, I knocked him out. If I touch him again, I'm going to knock him out. But Kovalev obviously carries massive power. Over his last couple of fights, though, he hasn't. Even in the first Ward fight, you could argue about a knockdown. He didn't. You know, like Randy mentioned at the time, he didn't get full extension on it, like, which is true. It was a short shot. Like, he hasn't been putting himself in position to use his attributes that well. Like, I mean, the fight he won in between that, I think, was a kind of a walkover fight. I can't remember who the opponent was, but he just bulldozed
Igor Michalkin.
But the Kovalev of old was brilliant at shifting back out of range and dropping the right hand over. Like, that's how he dominated Hopkins. He completely nullified Hopkins's, you know, way of shooting the jab to get inside into the clinch and then start working. He just stepped back and dropped the right hand all the time. He didn't do that against Ward, and he hasn't looked like he's been putting himself in the right position to throw punches. So I think, like, all the stories that we hear about him are true, like that he just doesn't listen to anybody, he does his own thing, he doesn't live the life outside of
the drink would be a worry for me, Rob, I think.
Well, they said ever since he became champion that he never stopped drinking. Like, after he beat Hopkins, he never stopped drinking. So, you know, that's going to catch up with you, and especially if you're not doing the right things in camp and everything, and you're not listening to your coaches and stuff. So I wonder what the relationship between him and Buddy McGirt is going to be like. Is McGirt going to get him focused enough to go out and stick to a game plan? Because if so, then he has every chance in the fight, because we know how hard he hits. Like, but I think he's on the slide. Like, I think the end is near for Kovalev.
Yeah, I agree with Rob, and he has no better man than Buddy McGirt. I think McGirt's an excellent trainer, but there's only so much he can do with someone like Kovalev who just doesn't listen. I think he's heavy on the drink, Andy. I think that early on, Alvarez is going to hurt Kovalev, maybe even drop him, and Kovalev's going to do just enough throughout the rounds to say semi-competitive and not get himself stopped. I'm going for a wide decision for Alvarez here. I don't think Kovalev's going to get knocked out, but I don't think he's going to have any chance of winning the fight.
I don't know, mate. I agree with what Rob was saying there. The mystique is gone on Alvarez. We could see it mainly after the first Ward fight, which I did think he won the fight. You know, the bitching, the complaining, we seen like the son of judges comments and stuff like that. And then when it came to the rematch, Ward figured them out. Okay, you could go in a bit.
Had he figured him out though, Andy? Had he figured him out? Because
yeah,
but the fight was really close up until a point, and then it hinged on the low blows.
I don't think it hinged on the low blows, mate, because if you look at it, if you go back and look at the fight, I remember once when Kovalev tried to kind of grapple with Ward at one point, and what Ward did, the hooked arms, so basically Kovalev's left and Ward's right hooked together. So, and then Kovalev's trying to push him back. So as Ward's coming back the way, they're tangled up arm to arm, and Ward's left hand is loose and he's fucking working the body like anything else, and then he finishes it off, steps off to the side with another bitch of a left hook to the body, and you can see Kovalev wasn't liking that work at all. Like I've always said, I said it long ago. People who listen to the show will remember me saying that he was hiding some glass to the body.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Ward exposed it. I think, you know, there was talk at one point as well as when even it was at his apex. You know, there was talk about moving up to cruiserweight at one point because, you know, who's going to handle him? Stevenson's running for him, type of thing. He's going to smash Ward. Well, all that's been put to sleep. The Stevenson fight never happened. Ward exposed him, and then Alvarez basically, I would say, probably finished him, actually, in all honesty. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see Alvarez stop him again. Okay, it was a close fight, but you know the way he got dropped, not just once, no twice, 3 times during that fight. I think. Part of it is he's training, or maybe lack thereof. He doesn't listen to anybody. I think David Jackson, who is a rat in the whole situation, basically spilt the beans on it. I can go and dig some comment. I've got it saved on my computer somewhere, but he did come back and he said, "Listen, the guy is a bully." And we saw it with Tyson. Tyson, you know, he had the power. He believed in his own hype for good reason. Same with Kovalev. He was icing guys left, right, and centre. And then what happens with someone who can actually stand up to the bully? Guy like Evander Holyfield, you know, he took on the bully. Alvarez took on the bully. Ward took on the bully, and look at him. He folded. He stepped into him.
I think you're dead right. Like I think he definitely exposed Kovalev in just what you're saying, standing up to the bully. Because if you remember that second fight, like Ward didn't do what he did in the first fight. He went out and made him at the start of every round and hit him with a 2-piece, and it was like, I'm here to fight. Like what are you? And he every time he got hit with that combination, he kind of looked even stunned. Like this fella's meet me in the middle of the ring, and he's trading. And he didn't know what to do. Like so, yeah. No, I'd agree that Ward definitely exposed him.
That rematch was Ward's greatest work since the Froch fight, in my personal opinion. And you know, I get it. Listen, I was a fan of Kovalev. I'm a fan of Kovalev. And people can go on about, oh, Ward's a dirty fighter, was low blows and stuff like that. But wait a fucking minute here. Kovalev hasn't been, you know, too shy about fucking having dirty fights and stuff like that, you know, punches behind the head and stuff like that. You know, it's a fight at the end of the day. Again, as I say, I just think he's now there, you know, really there to be taken. 35, questionable kind of attitude to, you know, his conditioning. This issue with the legal situation, new baby on the way and that as well. So you just don't know. You just don't know if Kovalev's mentally all there anymore. No, I'm going to go Alvarez. I maybe think again he might turn the goods again and maybe knock him out. But other than that, I think Kovalev is really there to go, really there to be taken, and basically kind of in his career. I just think he's washed up now. I really do.
Yeah, good points by the guys. I can't really disagree with any of that, to be honest with you. Just, I don't know, the ending was just a little bit uncomfortable for me, akin to a sort of, not as bad as Duran Buchanan, but it just felt like it was unclean and unsatisfactory.
Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. But I think if you look at the fight in the grand scheme of things and that as well, I mean, I have got a couple of still shots of the thing I was talking about. You know, if you look at the body shots that Ward was landing, Kovalev absolutely hated it. And there was one point in the fight, was that part that I mentioned when the locked arms, locked hands, and he hit him 3 times to the body. twice were probably more like an uppercuts, and he says he stepped off the side, hit my bitch a left hook, and he just couldn't hide that. He hated it, and I think that was then at that point Ward knew he had him because he just couldn't take it. Couldn't take it. If you can't make the weight, if you're struggling with the weight as well as the one place you didn't want him to get the hit, if you're struggling with the weight is the fucking body.
Yep. And he'd had stamina issues. He said he was empty in the first fight after 6 rounds.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He said he was overtrained for the fight. He spent too much time up in the mountains in Russia and that type of thing. So again, that was an excuse that he used for the first fight.
Yeah, and I think the sequence, I know it was a kind of an unclean ending, but the sequence that started it was the overhand right from Ward that hit him right on the button and had him tottering, and Ward was finishing up to the body, and that's when he a couple straight there, but I think Kovalev was quitting, I maintain that to this day. I know it was.
Yep, I agree with you.
It was 100%. An easy excuse for him to claim low blows. He was trying to do it earlier in the fight too, pointing at the cup the whole time. And he just sat on the ropes. He was he wasn't throwing back. He wasn't even thinking about it. He was just sitting on the ropes. I think he quit that fight.
100%. If you look at the way Ward was fighting, Ward was like a terrier in there, man. He was just letting punches go. And that was the one thing about Ward. You always hated about Ward. It was 3 punches and he would fall into a clinch. No, this time, man. He just stepped in there. Again, as I say, the big bully stepped in there and he wasn't liking it. At the end of the day, if you're going to hit low, what are you going to do? Hit him back. Fucking elbow him, headbutt him, fucking show a low blow yourself. Never done any of that. Quit.
Ozzy, before we go on to Bellew of the Week's final word to you, we've focused a lot on Kovalev, haven't we? But this Alvarez character, he has the wins on his record. He's beaten the likes of Chilemba, Butte, Pascal. This was his big step up and his big chance to shine against Kovalev, and he really did the business. And the finish was excellent. I mean, that final shot, Kovalev did show balls to, that was it. I can't even remember the sequence, but I know there was 3 knockdowns, and the one was an absolute hell of a shot that put him down with Alvarez. Showed he could punch, but Kovalev was there standing right in front of him.
Yeah, and I think it was a bit of a surprise as well, to be honest. I don't think anybody expected the fight to end the way it did because, in being brutally honest, Alvarez's record in terms of punching power and ability isn't all that impressive, to be honest. I think it's around the 50% mark or something like that. So, I mean, the way he ironed out Kovalev was extremely impressive. And it just goes to show, doesn't it, that I think, in the first Ward fight, Kovalev was, 2 rounds around either way of beating Andre Ward, and I think a lot of people had him beating Andre Ward, and it makes you wonder, had it have gone the other way and he'd have got that win over Ward, what it would have done for him then, in terms of could it have done anything different? Because when he got stopped off Andre Ward in the second fight, he wasn't getting outboxed, and I think on the cards it was relatively close from what I remember. So he wasn't completely outclassed, but like I say, in terms of mentally and stuff like that going into this fight now, the guy's, is he not facing prison because he's twatted this woman and shattered fucking orbital bones in her face or something? How he's even
4 years, what they're saying is the possibility he gets convicted.
What? Oh, right. So, so I guess it's innocent until proven guilty, hence why he is allowed to fight in this instance then. But surely, this has got to have had an impact on his training camp as well. We know, there's always excuses when he gets beat, isn't he? What was the first time against, what was the second time against Ward? He did too many weights or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but there's always excuses with him. And Andy's right as well, that Ward did expose in terms of his dislike to the body shots. And you could see him, he was wincing at them. So I've got to admit, I agree. I think it was yourself, Steve, who said it at the start. Alvarez is a lot fresher. He's got the confidence of stopping Kovalev in emphatic fashion. There was no controversy about that. So I think he will have enough.
He's a big dude as well, isn't he? He's massive for the weight.
Yeah, he's absolutely huge. Yeah, so look, he's not going to get bullied in that ring, that's for sure. And he's shown he can take a shot as well. Look, Kovalev can still punch, and he did land shots on Alvarez, and Alvarez took them reasonably well. And so I think he will just. I think we'll. Well, that's he's 34, so we talk about freshness really, but he's not. I guess he's not had the wars that Kovalev has had as well. There's only a year difference in him, but I do think that Alvarez will ultimately have a bit too much. I think he'll be in the better shape, mentally, physically, and he'll go on, and I think he'll get Kovalev out of there again, probably in a similar 7, 8, 9, round 7 to 9, something like that. I think it'll be too much. And what they are talking about then, which is ludicrous but could be a masterclass, is that they want Anthony Yard to fight the winner of this.
Yeah.
Really?
Unbelievable. Hey, listen, I found the David Jackson comments by when he says it was in the rematch. Ward's main strategy was to target Kovalev's body, which Jackson admitted was a boxer's weak spot. Quote, I wanted the second fight to prove that we won the first fight, but in camp for the second fight he did less than in the first. If he isn't hungry anymore, that's on him. He showed his true colours, but if he comes back, he has damaged goods. He would probably beat a couple of guys, but now they know your secret. You can't take it to the body, you're in trouble. So, stay tuned.
Regarding Alvarez's next fight, obviously Kovalev was supposed to beat him and set up a fight with Bivol. If Alvarez comprehensively beats Kovalev and there's no need for a third fight, we're thinking possibly Bivol against Alvarez. I'm thinking of the size difference because I always see Bivol as being quite a small light heavyweight. He obviously dealt with Sullivan Barrera quite well. Yeah. We imagine Alvarez probably has a little bit more dimensions to his game than Barrera. But how would Bivol, for all his ability, deal with someone of Alvarez's size? I'm wondering. Anybody who wants to comment, Ozzy? I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
I think he boxes him. Bivol, I think even myself and Rob were talking about after his last fight and stuff. Technically he's good. Just not exciting enough. I just think he's, as you say, Steve, he's no a big. It's like a wee bit like Boatsi as well. Supposed to they didn't look like monsters at the weight. They're not really as big hitters, especially got levels and that as well. As I think. It's a good question, actually. It'll be interesting to fight to see how it happens, but I think Bivol maybe do it on points.
I like Bivol once he gets into the groove. He's obviously got a lot of talent, but if you look at his fights with Pascal and his fight with Isaac Chilembo, I think he can coast at times, and I wonder, has he got it in him if he's pushed to go up to that next level? I'm not saying he hasn't, but we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah,
against Pascal, I think he should have planted the feet and got him the hell out of there.
Yeah, so if he's got a fight, so basically there's two questions actually. If he's got a fighter on the hook, can he finish the fight?
Yeah.
And if he's really going to dig deep and try and, basically earn it or really fucking dig it out of the fire, questions still need to be answered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's technically kind of a superior fighter than most in that division. Since he's beaten Barrera, you were waiting for him to have his breakout stoppage win, where he absolutely dismantled someone. And I think you're right. He's happy enough to go the distance, winning rounds, which is not going to excite anyone. But him and Alvarez is probably the best fight that could be made. And I think Andy's right. He's going to box, but has he got enough? Is Alvarez going to close the distance on him at some stage? Then can he take a shot? So we find out a lot from him about Bivol from a fight against Alvarez. I still fancy him to beat Alvarez. But I think we'd find out more about him against an opponent like that.
I don't know if anybody's seen the Bivol Pascal fight, but I mean, HBO obviously sort of dying a death at this point, and that really exemplified their demise because the fight was terrible and the commentators were bored, the crowd were bored. Lampley and Kellerman were telling anecdotes because there was a lack of action in the ring. It was really poor from Bivol that night. He should have stepped it up against Pascal, I think.
That was probably the worst show on HBO ever, and you're right, that was a terrible show by Bivol.
Okay, let's get on to Bellew of the Weeks, and then right at the end, we'll finish off with Danny Young's question that I threw out about the tag team boxing. Plenty of Bellew of the Weeks. There's a couple thrown in on Twitter as well, but we'll start with Tom O. Oh, yeah, sorry, Ozzy, you going ahead there, if you have something to say before Bellew. Yeah.
I just need to hand myself, Andy, and you, Steve, a big L. I've just been looking at Felix Cash's opponent again and realised that loss was actually 2018. So I've obviously not done my dates, right? So it was a year ago that. So obviously you've said it and I've looked at it and thought, fucking hell, he got beat a week ago. But obviously, it was 2018. So
that's my fault. I led you down the garden path, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm deleting that tweet quickly, by the way. I retweeted you, so
I've just replied to it now and said you can hand me an L here because I've got my dates mixed up.
See, there we go.
So, that's me, boys.
I'll tell you one thing though. I've been watching the fight there as you guys have been talking about. He quit in the corner. He wasn't stopped. He quit in the corner, but he looked like he ran out of gas. Actually, in all honesty, and I think he might be decent for a couple of rounds.
He didn't get outclassed by Sheedy, but I think Cash is a level above Sam Sheedy. What I would say is that this is the point. Look, this guy got beat off. In fucking Morocco, retired in the corner over a year ago now, and then he gets a shot for a Commonwealth title. I think that's the frustrating thing in that sense. That look how is he? There must be umpteen opponents better than him. But no, that's saying for those that were obviously going to cancel the tickets because they potentially didn't get to see Rashid Obalaji, you don't need to do that. He will be in London this weekend and flying the flag for Nigeria, looking to claim that Commonwealth belt.
Yeah, solid value of the week nomination for the hardcore helmets, led by me, Wellings, with 2 big L's in the middle there. Sorry about that, everybody. Also, nomination from Tom O'Reilly came in for the WBA. I don't know why this is nominated. The WBA have ordered Manuel Char versus Frezequendo for their regular heavyweight title. The winner must face the winner of Trevor Bryan versus Jarrell Miller, which has been ordered for the interim title. Don't see why Frez is getting value of the week nominations for that. Seems like a perfectly legitimate scenario to me, Andy.
It's because Charles come off the drugs ban, that's all it's for. You know, it's not Kendo's fault. You know, speak to the courts about it. The courts fucking put me in that position.
Exactly,
was it not a nomination for the extra belt as well? So they've created this interim title again for Bryan and Miller. Because that doesn't exist at the moment, does it? The interim title. So they're bringing that out again.
Oh, we spoke about that last week, Ozzy. What was it now? They'd invented an interim title for one of the fights last week that was completely unnecessary. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, they keep on creating interim when there's no need for it.
Look,
yeah.
the WBA, listen, put it this way. We know about the belts. At welterweight, just look at the welterweight rankings. Number 9, number 10. Conor Benn and Josh Yellow Kelly. That's all you need to know.
Who's it? Again, did you just say Conor Benn is ranked higher than Josh Kelly?
Yeah,
absolutely. By the way, can I just say as well as Conor Benn was 10th last month. He's now number 9 this month. It hasn't even fucking
creeping up there, Keith Thurman. You all better watch out. That's what I'm saying.
You all must forget, baby.
I think Keith Thurman was warned away from calling out Conor Benn last night. I mean, we all know the destroyer Conor Benn. Keith Thurman doesn't want any of that coming over to the UK, does he, to fight the destroyer?
Oh
nope.
Man, I miss his dad, but his son doesn't fucking doesn't light my fire at all. I loved his dad. His dad was my hero growing up, by the way.
Oh, walk on. Right, John Swan has nominated Peter Quilling. Quilling's going down the Devon Alexander route. He tweeted this week, "This has nothing to do with my own opinion because I'm open to every type of relationship, but I just watched a video and I want to know how many people out there have a dream for their kid to be bi or gay," says Peter Quillen. So he's asking the big questions here. Someone else jumped in and said, what video was it that you watched, Peter? And I suggested it could be the latest Yusuf Mack blockbuster. Who knows what Peter's putting on there? But anyway, John Swan has nominated him for that. O'Sullivan has nominated David Morse Jr. He's another AJ cheerleader of the day, saying that Usyk has never faced anyone with power, apparently. Pucking Frick has nominated Mendoza for the WBA situation. Like I said, Frez, we just want to see him get justice. That's all we want, a bit of justice in this world for Frez. Jamaica has been nominated by Stocko 3000. If Josh Warrington vacates his belt, that's a straight-up duck, says Jamaica. Don't care if he fights Valdez instead. He should be taking care of Galahad and looking to unify with Valdez. He got 10 likes for that, so he could be onto something. Pucking Frick has nominated Sullivan and the WBC, who have nominated their prospect of 2018, none other than Tony Yoka. Don't let drug cheats or missed drug tests get in the way there. Tony Yoka is the World Boxing Council 2018 champion. Crotty, Ryan Younger and DT threw that one in as well. Why let the drug situation get in the way of a good award, I say. Dylan Roberts has nominated Luke Beecroft, Beaky 86. This is a good one, actually. Beaky was jumping in, talking about purse bids. He said, the prospect of Eddie Hearn going to purse bids on any big fight is brilliant. The big checkbook is causing havoc. Knows he's being put out of joint, left, right and centre. What about that then, Andy? The big checkbook, it's causing havoc in the world of boxing.
Sorry, mate, I missed that one there. Say again.
Beaky has said that the world of boxing is on notice here because the prospect of Eddie pulling out the big checkbook is causing havoc in world boxing now.
Is that same big checkbook they pulled out for Carl Frampton with the £1.5 million on it? That it was like fucking, but we'll just put Lego Eater right in front of it as well. Oh, fucking hell.
The big checkbook, man, it's coming out, everybody. Also, but there's a bit of love for Eddie. Not all negative here, everybody. I know in the comments they have a go at us for being negative, but we're reading this one out from Chessman. He said, I have noticed how people boo Eddie Hearn. I honestly don't know why. I like him. He is a good businessman and he speaks his mind without fear. He's also hard-working and I like the way he answers questions. He is knowledgeable, says Chessman, and well brought up. Kudos to his parents. A job well done.
So, he's a cunt. he bullies lassies, for fuck's sake. He's a fucking prick.
I was going to say, is that one of the Matchroom bots or Eddie Hearn just under a parody account tweeting about himself to make him his ego feel better again?
Daniel 034578973,000.
Well, I was going to say we're definitely got a chairman for Matchroom FC there with that.
There you go. That's let's have a look who it is indeed. That's Chessman at Taker Chelsea 23. So he's getting stuck in there, everybody. Scotty has nominated Matty Aarons. Team Machine Tracksuit, says Matty. Support one of Liverpool's good boxers. £50 or use promo code Mersey Radio. Get in touch and follow Anthony Fowler on Twitter. Send him a DM with your size.
Fuck Anthony Fowler, by the way. Fucking bum.
I think it was later deleted. Anyway, Babs has nominated Bermain Stavern. He says, Joe Joyce, I'll knock him out, then I'll KO Joshua. All right, then sure you will. Sire's nominated his mate, who's been getting on the Joshua Klitschko 2 bandwagon. Michael Bellinger has nominated Eddie Hearn. You have to watch the video, but he was talking about WBO mandatory splits, and within the space of about 20 seconds, the WBO mandatory split went from 80-20 to 70-30. Eddie was talking about Saunders Andrade, I think it was, and it was 80-20. Then he went on to another fight. It was maybe Crawler or something, and all of a sudden the WBO split was 70-30, so he changed his mind in about 20 seconds there, did old Eduardo. Boxing Braves nominated Anthony Crawler. I will shock the world, he said on IFL TV. He's going to pull his pants down in the ring or something. David Farmer's nominated Brian Boxing. Potential card for April 13th, says Brian. AJ versus White. Chisora versus Takam 2. Allen versus Brown. Take my money, says Brian. He's looking forward to that one. Billy Boy nominated Ikram. Transfer Talk said, what footballer made you fall in love with football? And Ikram said, Anthony Joshua. So Anthony Joshua has made Ikram fall in love with football, apparently. So that's a bit of a strange one. Anyway, this is a good one, everybody. Declan Graffin is talking about Paulie Malignaggi. What's Paulie on about, you might ask? Well, Paulie Malignaggi accuses Conor McGregor of sexual harassment, goes all in. Declan Graffin says, belly of the week for Paulie, claiming the most ironic statement on earth. McGregor cannot stop talking about him.
Paulie's constantly talking about his fucking balls and that. So how the fuck's fucking Conor the one that's fucking sexually abusing or molesting or fucking assaulting him?
Was your balls, Conor?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, McGregor's obsessed with Paulie, man. I wish he would just leave him alone. Anyway, nomination for Paulie. Editing King put up about Lucas Brown. Lucas Brown has a message for all the internet trolls out there. Might be us, you never know. If YouTube comments have anything to go by. He calls them dog fuckers, apparently. Lucas Brown's going in on the internet trolls. Connor Jennings jumped in. Where's your gym then, mate? I'll smash your face in. It was a quality troll from Connor Jennings. He's clearly about 17, Rob.
Could have a shot against Big Daddy, man. You don't know.
Yeah, it depends what shape Big Daddy comes in. Mohamed Mir has nominated him, though, anyway, so there you go. Would you fight Lucas Brown, Rob? What amount of money would you need to fight Lucas Brown?
Meal in a hot shower.
There you go.
I go in for a round against Lucas. I go in for a round, you know what I mean? Not under the lights or anything, right? I go in for a move around with him, no problem. I think I can stay away from him for a minute.
He might gas out.
Maybe, I'd be hoping so.
Who we got here? Brian King He's nominated The Fight Guru. Is Josh Pretty Boy Kelly the future of boxing?
Yellow. Listen, his name's Yellow from the here on in. Yellow Kelly. He call me Mellow Yellow. He fucking don't have an issue, but that is the biggest fucking cowardice act ever. Got to be. I mean, that guy's, he should have been donated to medical research as to how his fucking illness came on all of a sudden. He could have even sold himself to Americans. They could have weaponized that fucking illness as well. Could have used it in Syria, for example, or fucking Iraq.
Couldn't go on camera. He was obviously very ill. Couldn't go on camera after he explained it. So
I knew he's not going to fucking honour the fight to get remade. Fucking be bitch.
Well, he's a future of boxing, anyway, according to this. Andrew G. Muhammad Ali, no less. Delusional, who thinks Ali is the best ever. He lost to Norton and Frazier. Would have lost to Cooper had he not cheated with the deliberate cut glove. Lost a further 5 times. Would have lost, etc., etc.
Fuck off.
There you go. Oh, Andy, there's one from you here I've got, actually. Keith Thurman was the PBC Fighter of the Week. You love a good Fighter of the Week, don't you?
Yeah, but this was before the fight.
Well, I knew what was going to happen.
He's not fought in 2 years. How can he be Fight of the Year? He's not fought in 2 years. Fucking they do it all the time. They did it with Santa Cruz, but the thing is, what's the point of the PBC fucking YouTube fucking channel page? Right, they put videos up there last 25 seconds, and they put up shite like Fighter of the Week Keith Thurman, who at that point hadn't even fucking fought Josito Lopez and was 2 years out of the ring. I mean, come on, fuck.
So I'm not happy about that. Oh, Andy, there's another one from you though.
Yes.
Durrell versus Yildirim is a special bonus on ITV box office. That's the kind of bonus I'm getting on board with.
Yeah. The question is, this was if you didn't buy the Eubank the Gill fight, but you decide to go up in the morning to watch Yildirim against Durrell, can you pay for it? Can you watch it? I remember a situation with ITV box office. I forget what fight it was. Maybe one of the Eubank fights, or remember one of the WBSS fights. You couldn't, and then like if there was another pay-per-view event, you couldn't buy the next pay-per-view event if you hadn't paid for the previous one. Is that right?
There was something I don't remember the exact in and out. Yeah,
something along the lines of that. It's just shit. I mean, who's going to fucking stay up to watch Yildirim against Durrell apart from you, Steve, because you fucking believe Mr. Robot
or Mr. Robot, the Turkish assassin.
Oh,
he might beat Durrell. You never know. He might beat Durrell.
Listen, when you make Chris Eubank look like a fucking Southside killer, by the way, there's something fucking wrong with you.
Yeah, Mr. Robot handed me one of many L's. Also, talking of L's, Chad Hogan's thrown in a few just finally here. Derry Matthews, I see people slating Crolla for taking the fight against Lomachenko. We need to support our own, says Derry Matthews. The best boxing in the world, that's what we all want to do. Making a fortune, could buy his little boy a house, etc., etc. Also, he's nominated, has Chad MJCH. Mock all you want. Joe Gallagher is a former Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year and has many world champs in his gym. One thing for sure, Crolla will come in good shape and will come forward. Don't be surprised if they upset the odds and Crolla ices him. Oh, that could be a solid final contender there of MJCH.
Just to end the nominations right now, mate. Just for the rest of the year, that could be a winner.
That's a good one. Yeah, Colin, who is it? So Nicky Gordon's nominated to the Sport Rag as well for getting a bit of satire with Anthony Joshua. But any other nominations? That's a real solid one from Brian there at the end.
Nothing for me, mate. Apart from the ones that I sent you.
I've got a good one in the aftermath of AB losing to Pacquiao. He's been very active on Instagram with about 12 Instagram posts this week. First one says, I will be champion again. I feel great and I'm going back to the gym. And until my next fight date, I'm going to go spend some of these M's I just made. #, still winning. So he could have got
is that like M&M's? Is that M&M's as in ecstasy pills, for example?
I'm not sure, but he went on to screenshot about 10 texts that he got from the hood. And we talk about the S-men in this fella's camp. Listen to what they're saying to him after not winning one round against Pacquiao. You put on for us, brother, on God and them, and you still that N-word. You beat the man, but politics got us. So be proud of yourself. I know you worked hard, brother, and you just wanted to win, but God got you, kid. Just don't let it get the best of you. Got to leave yesterday in the past, and let's move. Hit me when you up. Love you, brother. And then Gervonta is in amongst the guys in the mix, and Gervonta says, I love you like a real big brother, bitch. This shit ain't about nothing, brother. You helped me the most and you in great shape. Hug your family and loved ones and keep it pushing. I love you, young legend. And AB wrote back, I love you too, brother. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But this is an example of the guys that this guy keeps around him. Like people that are not going to kiss his ass and tell him that he won the fight even though he got holes. Like so, now another nomination for AB this week. Like
always happy to nominate AB. Wouldn't be Bellew of the Week without AB. Aussie, Gabe, any nominations from you? Doesn't seem like we've got anything from the boys there. I like the Bermain Stavern one, Gabe. What about that? Joe Joyce, I'll knock him out, then I'll KO Joshua. What's the chances of that? More chances of a meteorite hitting the earth, maybe, Gabe, than Stavern knocking out Joshua, I'd say.
Yeah. I don't know. It's slim to none.
Right, Andy, who are you going for? I like that solid one from MJCH, or to give him his full name, MJCH 4620875. Mock all you want, Andy. Gallagher is a former Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year. One thing is for sure, Crolla will come in good shape. Come forward. Don't be surprised if they upset the odds and Crolla ices him. Don't be surprised.
Yeah, it's up there. I've got to go for that one. I mean, Lomachenko, like the fighter who has probably got no peer at this point in his career, or over the course of his career at present, is going to get walked down and stopped off Anthony fucking Crolla. The guy who couldn't knock out Ricky Burns, man, who couldn't fucking knock out the fucking skin off a rice pudding, for fuck's sake. Come on. And the thing is, as well, it's an absolute embarrassment that Crawler's new in the state. I'm being serious, by the way. Lomachenko can do what the fuck he wants in this fight, and I mean, he can either carry him or he can badly damage him. And I hope it's not the latter, because if it's not the latter, I mean, think about it. Lomachenko's had, Crawler's been hit by a brick or a slab over the head. He's had brain, fractured skull, I believe. He's had brain problems or a brain injury, and they're going to put him with fucking Lomachenko, one of the most accurate punchers in the fucking sport. What you want to cabbage a kid?
Thing is, though,
Eddie.
Gabe,
This is what Eddie does. Eddie puts his fighters into fights and stuff like that. You know, his dad put Earl Graham in with Julian Jackson with fucking one eye, for example. He pulls Jason Gavin off an operating table to fucking fight. I forget who it was at this point. It's just, you know, it's just shit. If it makes dollars, it makes sense for that prick. It doesn't matter on the life or the fucking the well-being of the fighter. Never has been.
Gabe, I'm thinking though, if you want to sell, how could you possibly sell Crawler beating Lomachenko? But do you remember when Eddie was selling the Kell Brook Michael Zarafa fight? He says, "Go and look at the Peter Quillen fight. You know, where Zarafa nearly got his head knocked off his shoulders." You could say, if you don't think Crawler's got a chance, go and look at the Jorge Linares fights.
Exactly.
That's about the only way I can see it. I don't know how the hell you'd get by with selling something like that. I mean, if there's somebody delusional that's gonna, you know, a Corolla fan, maybe that's it. I have no clue. It's terrible. That's all I can say. I'm almost speechless. It's fucking terrible.
I can hear the emotion in your voice there, Gabe. Who are you going for then? Are you going for MJCH?
I like that one, but then if I could create a just a one-time thing, I really like the one that said Yusuf Mack in it. I don't remember exactly what you said it was, but that one would be my unvalue of the week, because that one actually, whenever you said it, I thought it was really good.
Oh, that was Peter Quillen. He was questioning his sexuality.
There you go, Pete. I thought that one, the guy who responded to him that said something about Yusuf Mack, that was my favorite thing of the week.
That was me who said that.
Was it you? I didn't see it. Well, you win, Steve. You're the unvalue of the week. I don't know. I'm medicated. I have a cold. I don't know. Let me think about it for a second.
That's okay. You have a good think about it, Gabe. What about you, Ozzy? Who are you going for this week?
Oh, that Pillow said Crawler. Lomachenko. What a dickhead.
I'm going to retweet that now.
I understand people, like, look, everyone's entitled to an opinion, and everyone's got one, but I'm sorry, that is just wrong. The way you can say that Anthony Crawler can not only beat Lomachenko, but go out and stop him. And the only way he can stop him is if Lomachenko falls over, breaks an ankle, and then physically cannot stand up. Because that is the only way it will happen, or something like that. And guess what? It's not. It's just a ludicrous, stupid opinion that, God, he must have been eyeballing vodka or something like that to come up with something like that.
Well, let me tell you, Rob, if you think that MJCH46208175 has no credibility, then look at his Twitter profile. He has no picture. He's following 27 people, and he only has 6 followers. And he says, "Speak the boxing truth, no bias here." That's his tagline.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, he's true to his word. His tweet definitely didn't sound biased whatsoever. Imagine saying that though. Imagine all right, say pull off the impossible. I'll leave it there. But to say don't be surprised if they upset the odds and Crawler ices Vasily Lomachenko. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I thought your man had responded to Big Daddy Brown was good too. With "Where's your gym mate? I'll come and smash your face in." That was pretty good. But when you hear people talking rubbish like that, like, oh my God. Ice Lomachenko, like he'd be lucky if he gets to hit him, like fucking ice him with what? Like he's gonna hit him in the dressing room or something. Like
they do caught Gunchester at the end of the day. That's your fucking best chance of hitting the cunt. Fucking shoot him.
Lomachenko.
I've been serious.
Lomachenko, if you shot him, he'd probably catch the bullet in his teeth and spit it back out at you.
That's a real Matrix, mate.
Has anyone ever took a shot at you, Rob?
Verbally only. Verbally and mentally, yeah. But I'm still here. Look at all I've been through. I'm a positive advocate for Never giving up. Hashtag never give up.
Rob's an example to us all, everybody. Talking about never giving up. We're not going to give up tonight yet. We've got this final question to finish off with, everybody, from Danny Young. Andy, we'll go to you first. I threw mine in the middleweight tag team fantasy. So we've got tag team style boxing at each weight. Teams must be one team of pre-1990 in one corner, one team of post-1990 in the other. Obviously, all four fighters will have to be in and around the same sort of weight classes. I'm sure you understand the premise of the question, Andy. So I went for Monzon and Hagler tag teaming against Hopkins. What did I say again? Hopkins and Golovkin, I think it was. What weight, Andy, and who are you going for?
I'll go heavyweight, just for the banter. I'll go Vlad and Vitaly Klitschko against Muhammad. What was the cut-off point again? Sorry.
We have pre-1990 against post-1990.
Right, so I'll take the two Klitschkos along with against Sonny Liston and George Foreman.
You could see Vlad getting sparked, couldn't you, early by one of them pair?
Yeah, probably by Big George. I think Vitaly would stand up for a fair bit as well, but you probably pull an injury quick there. Yeah, I wanted to throw kind of maybe like a Dempsey in there, but I thought maybe size-wise Dempsey was always a kind of small heavyweight. Yeah, small heavyweight, because he Fist of Fury, man, that guy could fucking punch. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I mean, he put that book out like something like explosive punch and aggressive defense. That guy was like a pent-up fury. He just let punches go for all angles, wanted to kill you. I'll leave Joe Lewis out of there because some of the guys that he fought at the end of the day, you're all as good as your era at the end of the day. That's what gets labelled against Vlad sometimes. His era was shit. Joe Lewis's era was something similar, but he did fight some good fighters there as well.
You mentioned about Klitschko quitting there, Andy. Obviously, you're referring to the Bird fight, but we might be giving him a pass after the ball he showed against Lennox.
Yeah, that as well. He redeemed himself, didn't he, after that fight, and then obviously he's come back and he's basically kind of obliterated who he's fought after that. But yeah, I think it was Larry Merchant really kind of questioning the Bird fight. I think it was something along the lines as you got a sore shoulder. So what? You fight. That's the end of it. I think that's something like what Larry said along the lines. That's Larry's been there and seen it and done it at the end of the day. So.
Well, yeah, I think Klitschko made the right decision for the longevity of his career, but we'll move on. We've talked about that in duration over the years. Gabe, what about you? So what weight division are you going for? And give us two pre-90 and two post. Gabe.
I was still muted. So the fighters have to have started before 1990 and after 1990, or they're
well, I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't think it's too strict, to be honest with you. I'll reread the question here so everybody gets the gist. Danny Young threw it in. He said a fantasy question, so it's tag team style boxing, so they can tag each other in and out of the ring at each weight. So you pick a weight class, right? So the teams must be pre-1990 in one corner. So we've got two guys in one corner from before the 1990 era. Obviously, if they cross over, it doesn't really matter. And then two post-1990 in the other corner, all four from the same weight class or in and around, obviously. And so that's what I need. So I went for Monzon and Hagler against Hopkins and Golovkin in a sort of middleweight showdown. Andy went for the Klitschko brothers against Foreman and Norton. No. Liston.
Okay, I'm gonna go featherweight, and I'm gonna put Barrera and Morales on one. And then the other, I'm going to do...
Sandy Sadler and Wally Pep or Vicente Saldivar or something like that.
Well, you could do that. I was thinking of more of guys that I'd actually got to watch a lot of footage of.
Salvador Sanchez, throw him in there. Or Barry
Sanchez and Wilfredo Gomez.
Oh! I've just come in my pants.
That's a good strategic one, though, isn't it? That's a good strategic one. You could have Gomez coming out early, and then Salvador Sanchez was always a good finish. So he could come in the second half.
That's a good one.
Ozzy, I hope
Barrera and Morales on the same team.
Yeah, Morales, dirty, evil, and Barrera wasn't fucking afraid to mix it up either. Sanchez was always good coming on late, as you say, Steve, and Gomez was always fucking good. Left hook, nasty fighter, Gomez as well.
There we go. Then we've got two. Ozzy, hopefully I explained the question for you. Two pre-90, two post.
Chris, super middle.
Oh, yes.
Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn
Oh,
against Joe Calzaghe.
and Andre Ward.
I was going to say Carl Froch, actually.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. I think that would be quite interesting, actually.
I would maybe throw Michael Nunn maybe in there.
Oh, Michael Nunn, yeah, he could go early like Nigel Benn, couldn't he? And then you'd expect Eubank to come in, the sort of tag him in later on because Ben and Nunn would fade.
Oh my!
There we go then.
There's a few actually pre-19.
Yeah, Kessler, Collins. Oh my word!
I was going to say Collins is one that you could put in.
Thing is, well,
but we're sort of straying in and around the 1990s.
I was going to say once
here, though, aren't we?
I was going to say 168 is kind of thin if to kind of bring in like so the pre-1990 fighters. So you're talking like people like Murray Sutherland or the Korean guy. I think his name was something Chol Park, and remember the guy that Hagler fought, Obermaheles, I think he's pronounced his name is.
Oh, Belmias, yeah. Fully Obel.
I'm sure he was up there in weight as well as, and also the cruiserweight French guy, Tizo. Is it Tizo? I think his name is his brother.
Tiotso.
I think his brother was running about there somewhere as well.
Christopher Tiotso, yeah, that's right.
Is that him? I think he was there as well.
Yep, there we go. We're straying in and over the lines, Rob, but what about you? Pick a weight class and then give us two each.
Yeah, well, I have a kind of an obvious one for welterweight. Thomas the Hitman Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard at 47 versus Floyd and Manny Pacquiao at 47. So that's a kind of a really an obvious one. I had a good one for middleweight where you could have
see, welterweight's bitching me. You could make any fight there.
Yeah, I was only just thinking like I could have easily just had Pernell Whitaker, Julio
Oscar
Chavez versus Floyd and Oscar. Yeah, you could.
Oscar Chavez, Oscar Mosley, Oscar fucking Floyd against the likes of Armstrong and McLaren and Ted Kid Lewis. Fucking hell.
I thought about another one at middleweight for Hagler and Hearns versus Gerald McClellan and Roy Jones at 60. Oh, you could interchange James Toney.
Or 168, aye. 168, you put James Toney in there, I suppose, as well. And we call him the Blade.
Iron the Blade back.
Iron, yeah. Great stuff, boys.
Yeah,
yep, some good ones.
I got too deep into thinking about it. Could they tag in if they've been knocked down? All kinds of things like neutral corners and stuff.
Can they only tag in once and all that type of stuff? We don't know. Yeah, ones with good stamina, you could obviously bring them back in again later, but we're not sure of the rules. But that was a bit of fun anyway. If you're listening at home, which I hope you will be, on Twitter or YouTube later on in the evening or later on in the week, hit us up with your fantasy mashups. So I'm sure I've explained it well enough, but Danny Young threw that in the question, and it was a very good question, so thanks for that, Danny. Any other type of things like that, fantasy type of stuff, then let us know. We'll throw in the question if we have a chance. Thanks to Andy Patterson for coming on, as always. Gabe Lewis was with us tonight, Ozzy Smith, rapping Rob Kelly. Dave the Hater Lowback was with earlier as well. And there's probably miles more we should have talked about, but we need to get out at some point, don't we? Don't forget to go over to patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. If you're a $5 subscriber, you would have had 5 pieces of content this month, so we're pumping it out for you. No messing about over there, everybody. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you again. Same place, maybe same time. Who knows, next week. Thank you. Bye.
Maybe live, baby.